Steve's still talking. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Palantir Weekly. Steve will join us soon. He is talking about Pokemon, so we'll probably be here in like 10 minutes because he's going to keep Tanner and Tevis on SoFi Weekly for the next.
Let's talk about a real company, Amit.
Let's talk about a real fucking company.
None of that PayPal shit that you guys were talking about over there.
First of all, are you on vacation, Matt? Why are you in this bunk cabin, nuclear kind of bunker? What is this place? Where are you at?
This is my doomsday bunker.
Okay.
And I've started stocking up on spam.
So Palantir being down 30% requires this from you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I started buying lots of ramen because that seems really shelf stable. And, this is where I live now. It's actually a basement of somebody else. And it's in Tennessee because I had to go to somewhere where it was cheaper cost of living. And I live here now.
Interesting.
No, I'm on vacation. I'm in the Smoky Mountains hanging out.
Why are you on vacation?
Same reason why you have a girlfriend. I'm being distracted by the game.
Okay. And what do you plan to do on vacation? Like, do you have any activities lined up or?
Today I drove around for about 5-6 hours. Got some good pictures of some Smoky Mountain shots. That was really cool. Hang out with my nieces and nephews. Haven't seen them in a while, so that was fun. See my sister, my brother-in-law. So it's really been nice to hang out with them. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I haven't really had like a day off this year, other than obviously weekends are a day off. Not you don't get too many weekends off, but I take my weekends pretty seriously. But yeah, it's the first official day off I've had all year. So it's been
Wait,
nice
so is this how long
is
this a weekend vacation or you're taking days off from work vacation?
I'm actually taking days off of work. I've been off all week since I drove here started driving here Saturday. It was about a 14-hour drive. So I stopped over in Arkansas, saw a pretty lady that I know in Arkansas, and then I moved over to Tennessee.
Wait, hold on. You're going from Texas to Arkansas. You saw a pretty lady, meaning this is a friend of yours that you saw before you took a pit stop. And you had
it was an 7-8 hour drive. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was a 7-8 hour drive. I didn't want to do all 14 hours in one day. And then the next day I drove to there he is.
Okay, cool. And so how many days off is this gonna be? Like a 10-day vacation?
No, it's I'm going back tomorrow. Start driving back.
Okay, very cool.
Stop off in Nashville, eat lunch with a buddy that I knew that moved out to Nashville, and then probably stop in Arkansas again, and then drive back to Houston on Sunday. So
okay, here's my last interrogative question for you, and I think it's a fun one. You'll be able to answer it however you like. Steve, thank you for being here. I thought you were going to spend 20 minutes obsessing over Pokemon with Tanner and Tevis.
Pokemon.
If you had to give
we can do it on this podcast.
We can probably do this at the end. All right, stay tuned for the end for Steve to give us his S&P versus Pokemon.
Some collectibles, man.
Some collectibles. If you had to give an alias to this lady friend that you met in Arkansas, what would be the coolest name that could describe her that's not actually her name? What fits her personality as a name? Like, if you had to be like, yeah, I have this girlfriend, but no one actually knows her real name, so I'm making up a name for her. What lady name would you give her? Because I know what lady name I would give. What'd you say?
Probably Khloe Kardashian. She looks a little bit like Khloe.
She looks like Khloe. Okay, I was gonna say Mary Jane. I love that name so much. I always think a cool name to like yeah, that's my Mary Jane. That's super cool. Khloe Kardashian. Interesting. Okay,
yeah. It's a cool chick.
Okay,
she's very southern.
Okay,
I wouldn't say I'm into that. I'm into all color, shapes, and sizes. I don't discriminate.
Understood. I agree. I agree with your sentiment. Steve, before we get into Palantir stuff, first of all, how was your week in the markets?
Shitty.
Can you put the mic closer to your freaking mouth, Steve? Like you need to obsess about the mic. People need to hear.
You did that way too easily. Anyway, it was shitty, except it was a good dividend week for me, which made it unshitty on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Little Omega Healthcare, a lot of SL Green, but
All right, so let's start off the conversation with Palantir this week. So I have a bunch of topics, but before we get into them, let's talk about the general price decline. $20 to 14, 1370s on the lows. 27, I think, no, 30% decline when it was at its lowest. Psychologically, and I guess realistically, did you buy the dip? How are you thinking about the valuation? Do you think the drop was justified? Give me your raw thoughts. Let's start with Matt, then Steve.
Sure. I think it's a prudent pullback. I'm just saying $20 is kind of where we started, right? I know it went above that at one point, but so $20 to 14, I think now it's back up a little bit, but I think a 30% retracement is prudent based off the run up that we've kind of had. And I honestly, we've talked about it. I think everyone was kind of giving us crap. Like, there's no way that this company is, overvalued and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the company hasn't established itself as of yet from a long-term money cash flow sort of perspective that Wall Street would warrant it to not have some sort of pullback. And so I have seen a lot of other companies getting smacked 50, 60%, that are kind of in the same nature of profitability, like Open, Upstart, stuff like that, getting smacked a lot harder. I think it's a prudent opportunity to kind of start thinking about at 14. I've yet to start picking up to answer the other part of your question. I'm contemplating what my plan of attack would be. I'd be okay not adding any shares because it is already a large position in my portfolio. But at some point, because the reason being is the 13% year-over-year growth still sort of scares me. If we were at about a 20%, I think it'd be in a different story. But anyway, I'm hoping that the price kind of stays around this point, and I could pick up some by the end of kind of 3Q when kind of getting the 3Q results. Because I think if things kind of continue to go up, you see the re-acceleration to 16% year-over-year growth, and you see more customer count, yada, 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 I'd feel more comfortable. I wasn't entirely impressed after Q2. A lot of it is words that are kind of coming from Sham and Alex. But anyway, I would probably start dabbling in the 11 to 12 range. But to me, in full transparency, I know that we're not talking about this company, but I'm looking more at Rocket Lab and picking up more of Rocket Lab at the moment.
Got it. Steve, I'm going to let you go in a second, but I want to get something off my chest as well, because it speaks to what you said, Matt, and piggybacking off of that. I think there are certain people that think Palantir is always undervalued, and I, for the life of me, cannot understand how they come to that conclusion. One of the things I think I like about myself as an investor over the past couple of years is and it's because of you, Steve, Chris, Vitaly, Carlos, is really understanding the concept of valuation, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what a market cap was in 2021 when I was buying. And so the people that are like, yeah, $20 is undervalued because you're not looking at TAM, you're not looking at growth, you're not looking at potential, you're not looking at the fact that, oh, if you always look at a company that's overvalued, a mistest, all these ridiculous arguments. No, at 13% year-over-year growth, a 40-something, $42 billion company is overvalued. It's just that plain and simple. And I think it's really healthy for us to be able to definitively say that, because if we don't, then we end up like a Tesla community that thinks at $400 it's not overvalued in 2021. Or Warren came on the Finance Junkies podcast. He said it should be $300 right now before they even had earnings. And it's just ridiculous stuff like that. I don't want that to exist in the Palantir community, because I think it's very healthy to have a really balanced understanding of, hey, this is a software company. It's not a consumer company. This is enterprise SaaS. There are certain multiples you give to enterprise SaaS. And if they have magnificent growth, which is the whole point of the qualitative analysis we do to get to that numerical growth, the empirical evidence, then you can attach these crazy multiples to it. But to do that prematurely, as you said, with a lackluster growth, and just be like, you're stupid, it's undervalued, you don't understand what you're doing, I think that's a disservice to even the concept of investing. And
before I let Steve talk, sorry to kind of keep you waiting there, Steve. I know you've been patiently waiting. The same thing with if we were to start aggressively cutting gross margin, right? Like Tesla's doing right now. If we went from an 80% to a 40% gross margin, it would also make me take pause and say, oh shit, right? Is this thing going to be as profitable in the future? Will they be able to maintain a 30% cash flow from operations sort of or EBITDA margin that we've kind of been seeing? Some of the stuff that Steve was kind of bringing up over the past few times. It would make me like, well, is that going to go to 15? just because we're going to get more revenue growth or something like that. And the same thing that people should be talking about and thinking about with respect to Tesla. At this point, the gross margins for Tesla have gone down to the single digits or below double digits. And at that point, they're not any different than any other car maker. Now, if you're kind of starting to think, well, they still have the energy business and they still have the robot business. It's like, okay, I get it. But at what valuation do you want to put on the car business, which is still valued at greater than all the other car companies combined, and now has similar margins to, if not less than, say, Ford and GM, and planning to decrease that margin further probably as well. So sorry to cut you off there, Steve, but I just wanted to bring a little bit of reality into the room.
Yeah, and to cut Steve off again, to piggyback off that point.
Just take Steve off. Just kick him out. No,
like, Steve, I'm sorry, bro. He's like, I stayed up. I drank so much fucking coffee for a minute just to have to sit quiet. No, but I think Steve will appreciate me saying this. It's like Palantir has so much growth ahead of it, and there's so much potential. You don't have to get greedy at 18, 20 bucks. And that's why on my live stream as well, every fucking day I was like, bro, I don't like 18. People are like, Amit, you didn't like 12. I'm like, yeah, I didn't like 12 either. And like now I kind of like 13, 14 because I've seen some growth. Things are changing, 400 clients, all that stuff. But it's so hungry to be like $20 is undervalued. It's like, no. Like a market and it's about being humble about respecting valuation. Valuation is just buyers and sellers coming to an agreement on price. Sometimes that's irrational, but a lot of times that ends up working to be a fair, reasonable estimate for a company. And you have to be humble enough to recognize that the market has its forces and it comes to an agreement. And if you're wrong on that agreement, then you're wrong, not the market. And there are moments where the market could be wrong and there's asymmetrical opportunities, but it's not at $20 with 13% year-over-year growth. That's not it. So Steve, go ahead.
So there's a lot of things I need to address between what the two of you just said. We'll start with Palantir and then we'll move into my favorite company, Tesla. So with Palantir, something you need to remember is not everybody does the amount of research that we do. And you never know how much people look at financials. And some people may look at a $14 or a $20 share price and not understand that that's representative of a market cap and shares and think that that's inexpensive compared to an Apple or an Amazon or something else. So you always have to keep that in mind. I wouldn't be surprised if Palantir was at 22. I wouldn't be surprised if it's at 12. I don't care what the share price does in the short term because it's not money that I need tomorrow, next week, or next month. It is money that unless something in my personal situation changes, I have already made the decision that I'm locking it up because I can't time markets and I am not a short-term investor. I don't try to bob and weave and go in and out. I add shares when they're at prices that I like or when I have extra capital to put in. And the way that I look at Palantir has not changed. It is an enterprise business. It's a government business. It's not a consumer-facing business. So our addressable market is much different than an Apple. It's much different than a Google. It's much different than a Coca-Cola. Unless they come out when I don't know how they would, unless they do something extraordinary, but I don't know how they would come out with a consumer-facing product. So all your revenue is going to Chris, I would love to buy Snowflakes. Slootman's a beast.
No, you don't. Don't feed his ego by saying you would love to buy Snowflake.
Why?
Snowflake is up 3% year to date. Palantir's up 124%.
I wanted to buy Snowflake in the beginning, and then Benioff
and then
Buffett
the sun came out and that shit melted.
Okay, Benioff and Buffett screwed that up for me because it ended up coming on the market way too expensive.
Yeah,
anyway. Okay, finish your last point. Then I want to move to the SPACs. We'll leave your Tesla stuff for the end because I know you're going to go on a rant on Tesla. So finish your last point.
Yeah, with Palantir, anybody can make a case that it's overvalued now, but this isn't a boring industrial company like Coca-Cola or even a PayPal like we were just discussing before. You are buying Palantir because you think that their tech is going to be unmatched. You think that they are going to be the leader or a leader in what this new fourth revolution of technology is going to become. And they're going to have a Salesforce type arc because once again, I still think Salesforce is the best correlation to what Palantir may become if it hits all the right KPIs.
I think it could be Oracle as well. That's also one of my.
Oh, maybe an
Regardless,
Oracle,
right? We get your point.
regardless, but
you agree that a 20 was overvalued. You kind of agree with that argument, and at the end of the day, it's reasonable for it to fall 30%.
yeah, I mean, I think it's also hard to value the tech because think
I
about
agree.
it like this. Don't think about it from a free cash flow multiple or PE multiple or something like that. Think of it like this: you have $3 billion in cash. You have an enterprise business that's doing $2 billion, going to do 2.25 or 2.3 this year. They're profitable. What's the tech worth? Like if somebody was to acquire them, what are they paying to acquire them today? Because we've seen companies acquire companies for ridiculous amounts. So
Here's a quick thing for you. Don't you think that tech will get a massive premium? Because I put this chart out on Twitter a couple days ago. Snowflake is doing 2.6 billion off 8,000 clients. Palantir is doing 2.1 billion off 400 clients.
right.
Like I know it's a very naive elementary analysis, but that's kind of crazy, right? To do almost the same with 1/10 the amount of clients. It means the tech is fundamentally useful and differentiated to those 400 clients.
Here, regardless if you think the valuation is overvalued from a dollar standpoint based on their profitability or whatever the growth is going to be this year or next year, let me phrase it like this. Two companies, IBM and Google, okay? They both play somewhat in the space. If one of them wanted to acquire Palantir to get IL6 and then integrate everything Palantir does into their cloud, do you think that they're going to undercut the current market cap, or do you think that they're going to be paying a premium? Now, I'm not saying that it would happen, but if somebody was to acquire Palantir, one, is it even likely that that occurs? And if it is, do you think what's their tech worth?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, no, I agree. It is all determinant based on that tech, and that's why that could justify an overvaluation. But at $20, I still think with the growth, as Matt said, that the valuation.
And I'll say this from what you guys said: I didn't buy any shares. I've been buying PayPal, but if I wasn't buying PayPal, I probably would have bought shares, and I bought more SL Green. But I probably would have bought more because you know what? To me, paying 14. If it goes down to 11, I would just buy more.
I would buy.
I don't know where the bottom is. I'll just buy more because I believe in it long term.
The thing that this is
real quick, Matt, before you go, Code says when am I on the weekly? Code, let's get you next week. Let's plug you in next week. Next week on the weekly. Let's do it.
We love Hot Code Strap, man. He's a valuable gem to this organization.
We need Code. He did a great Spaces with Jay, and he was breaking down AIP and some of the shit he was saying. If he can expand on that on the weekly, it's
for sure.
Really
yeah, I'd be really curious to hear his perspective because I know he has a lot more in detail with the product than I am, and he's actually probably setting up the guardrails, whereas I'm just an end user, right? I tell people that all the time. It's like I don't have nearly the experience that Code does, but this is so I'm with you, Steve. The thing that I'm with you 100%. There's literally part of me that's just like believe in the long-term strategy, believe in the management, but there's another part of me that says like respect your normal rules, don't grow a position that's more than 6 or something % more than your portfolio and yada yada yada. But to me, like my fundamental belief is I believe that these guys have six or seven platforms on top of these guys already have 2 additional platforms that are in the pipeline that are going to be released within the next 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 to 5 years. I have a fundamental belief in that. The reason why I believe that is because AIP fits in not like so it's like AIP completely is using the underlying Foundry, the underlying Gotham sort of projects in its entirety without having any sort of real need for customization or anything like that. It's literally a plug and play sort of thing. I mean, of course, there's going to be having to have guardrails and specifics and language modeling that you're going to have to, train your AI on. But they've set up Foundry and Gotham to basically be prepared for this sort of tool, which is AIP. And so it makes me fundamentally believe that, when I invested, I didn't expect Apollo to come out. I didn't expect AIP to come out. And that happened within a matter of 2-3 years. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's another few platforms that are on their way already. the thing that bothers me the most is, and I understand that this is the competitive advantage piece of it, they're keeping things super close to their chest. And to me, I still don't know if all the things that I truly believe the company is doing is what they're actually doing. Now, let me explain, because I know that's very cryptic. My thought process is they're undercutting the amount that they're charging people for the continued ability to get more customer count and focus on the products and actually gain aerial exposure. And the reason why I say that is, if you look at, and I said this maybe a week or two ago, if you look at the amount of industries that they started with when they direct listed, it was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 different industries. Now they're in over 40, 50 industries in the matter of 3 to 4 years thereafter they direct listed. So if you think about that, they care more about, and they're kind of taking the AWS, or not AWS, the Amazon model, where they care more about getting the market share exposure rather than actually charging for it. And now that they have slight profitability, they can even play that game a little bit more, which is why they say, we don't really give a shit about charging people for AIP. We want to just get as much market exposure as we can. They're thinking 10 to 20 years down the road, just like Amazon charges and undercuts their pricing, and they find something that works on their website and they say, we'll charge a negative net margin because we'll make up for it on Prime. It's the same exact business model. And eventually you could start playing to your advantage of working that 80% gross margin, 85% gross margin in the long term. But in the short term, you're worried about just getting as much industry exposure and learning as much about all these different problems that all these different industries are having right now. So you could be the customizable operating system for the future for each one of these individual industries, which is another reason why I believe that they invested in the SPACs. But anyway, I'll that's my thought process. If that played out, I would have 100% of my portfolio in Palantir because I believe that. But the thing is I can't because of the risk management piece, and it scares the crap out of me. And anyway, that's the dichotomy that I sit in within my brain. So hopefully that helps.
Sorry, I was on mute. I said, Colin, I'll get to your super chat in a second. Let me get to the next topic. But I agree. Look, at $20, it's overvalued. But if AIP is what AIP is, and that's why we need Code to come on the pod and help us understand a lot more, maybe it is undervalued. It's the problem is the growth is not there, which means, yeah, at 14, 15, 11, 12, it's not a bad bet if you think AIP is going to be the thing that it needs to be. It's just that $20 with that growth, it's hard to fully decide on.
Hold on. Palantir is not a value company. It's not a deep value stock. Is anybody buying it for the value of it today? I mean,
no, my point is just that $20, there were people saying it is super undervalued. And the valuation part of me, which has hedged back against the, I'm a growth stock investor part of me that I was very naive for a good year and a half, is no, it's overvalued. And that's okay. It's okay to admit that. And so I just feel like not enough people are admitting that. And
yeah, from a numbers standpoint, it can definitely look overvalued. But at the same time, if they were to get acquired, I think they get a premium of their current market cap. And I don't think that they're going to get acquired, but they could. And we don't know what they have coming down the pipe. And
yeah. No, I agree.
A lot hinges on the AIP conference. Like, I am very sold on this AIP because we're in the infancy of AI. And if Palantir can become one of the top tier companies, which I think it will, I think we're going to see a crazy valuation on this company. And I will be selling if a crazy valuation happens. And that's really why I'm in this, because this is an area that could catch fire. And if in the next 2 to 3 years, AI really ramps up, is it crazy to think Palantir hits 100 a share? Regardless of valuation makes sense at all. Like, this is that type of company.
But see, when that happens, Steve, there will be over 20% year-over-year growth. That's the only caveat. Like 100 a share, it might be overvalued technically, but it would be at a reasonable growth rate, I think.
I don't think so. I think it would more so rely on the net earnings per share. But, I could see if this thing has a net earnings in general of $2 billion, I could easily see this being a $100 billion company. A price to earnings of 50 for a company like this in the premier kind of niche that it's in.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I don't think it's crazy.
So you're saying $2 billion in profits, 50x multiple. $100 billion.
This is going to need a couple of years to play out because we're in the infancy. We need to see where this is going to go. I mean, you look at
Okay, so
cloud
let's move on to the next segment because we got some other stuff to talk about, and then we'll go back to valuation. So this was a really big thing this week. Shout out to Amir. If you guys are not following him on Twitter, highly recommend. He does a lot of due diligence on stocks. Apparently on the SPACs. And Steve, did you get to check that video out? Because this is
Y'all don't listen to your boy. That's all I'm gonna say. If you're gonna, I'll let you continue. I'll let you finish in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. But
So
first of all, I don't like Amir anyway.
but I didn't have time because I had to do something else to
Okay, that's fine.
look
So-
into something that I wanted to because I have some questions on this.
Okay,
and I'm
so-
not sure
so-
that you
so-
can actually go by what this is representing.
Okay, well, what I double checked the numbers are correct. We are up 12% on our initial SPAC investments. Our initial SPAC investments were about 259 million. Right now it's at 290. If you look at Q2 2022, we were at 177 million on that 259. So we were down 31%. This number is cumulative of the revenue we've collected from SPACs, the equity value, and the total proceeds from sales of whatever stuff we sold, whatever shares in the companies we sold. So we used to have 20 companies that were public about 3 quarters ago. Now we have 5. We sold out of Birds, Black Sky Cellularity, Rigetti, and Sarcos. We still have Lilium, LIFW, Atheorant, ALLG, and we have one more. And Wejo went bankrupt. So
Surprised they sold out of Black Sky, but
I'm surprised they sold out of Black Sky as well. So I guess Carp's VC experience kind of played a role in kind of doing what they needed to do here. But the discussion I wanted to have is everyone thought the SPACs were stupid. And maybe us as Uber bulls didn't think it was that stupid. But even at some level, we were like, really? You're investing in Birds? Like, well, what's going on here? You're investing in Wejo at $10. Now it's bankrupt. They're up 12%. And it looks like this is, unless there's some crazy macroeconomic event that's going to happen, the SPACs are going to return over the next couple of years more than 12% because the companies that are left are likely the companies that hopefully will survive, given Palantir got rid of a lot of the crappy companies. So any thoughts on the fact that we're actually up 12% on the SPAC investments from a couple years ago?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm going to do the numbers myself. I'd like to see it a different way. I don't like everything combined in the same silo. You can't do that. Equities.
No, the numbers are legit in terms of revenue.
I'm not saying
sales,
that when they're combined that they don't add up to that. I'm saying that equity needs to be in its own silo, revenue needs to be in its own silo, and sales need to be in its own silo.
I can do the breakdown of the 290. It's 171 million in revenues, 8 million in current equity value, and then whatever 171 plus 8, 290 minus that 108 in sales from the actual proceeds of the stock. So again, 170 million in revenues, 8 million in current equity, and then 117 in the actual stock, 108 in the stock.
So in one of my earlier articles, I had written about Palantir being a holding company, and I was very for it. And it goes back to what Chris said a couple of weeks ago about equity stakes, venture fund. I'm all for it. And I don't think it was a bad move. Regardless of how it plays out, these could all go to zero. I wouldn't care because they didn't put up a ridiculous amount of capital, nor did they put up capital that puts them in danger. I mean, this is a company with 0 debt and $3 billion in cash. So it was a no-brainer. I mean, look, they were looking at cutting-edge things. I'm surprised about Sacros Robotics because I do think that that's going to be the future in manufacturing and in warehouses. I'm very surprised at that. I'm a little surprised about Black Sky. And look, I'm happy that they're still in Lilium because Lilium could revolutionize things 5-10 years down the road. And that's what people didn't understand, that those investments weren't investments for today. They were investments for 5 or 10 years down the road. And if they were, keyword being if, that they would pioneer new industries and Palantir's platforms would be powering new industries through those companies. So it was an incredibly smart move because it was such a low amount of capital that they didn't borrow. It was capital that they had. And they didn't.
And the average contract value is 5x the current.
Yeah, just anybody who thinks that was a bad deal, I would disagree, and I'll debate anybody on it because once again, show me where the debt is, show me the downside. I mean, this is a company that I wish they took 50 or 100 million and set up a venture fund. We would have owned part of Anwar. I mean, we would have owned part of other companies if they did that. I mean, they have a ton of cash. They should utilize it. Not all of it, but I want to see, I don't want cash going to buybacks right now. I want cash going into short-term bonds. Generate that interest while we still can at risk-free rate. You're only going to get these rates for another year. Buybacks are the last thing you want right now. Buybacks come down the road when we're really making profits.
Yeah, I'd rather them invest. I'm with you 100%. I'm not gonna, say any disvalue or devalue anything that Steve just said. I agree 100%. Let me first say, surprised by Black Sky, because Black Sky is within several $1 million of being EBITDA break even. I think I just checked there, and they're growing. I think the reason why maybe they feel like they've gotten as much as they can from the satellite sort of play that they were going for in terms of learning what they need from satellite side of that sort of space and that industry and that, say, vertical. But to me, I think that there's a lot of room. Is Black Sky increasing in terms of where they said they were, pre-SPAC to de-SPAC? No, their revenue is not nearly where they want it to be, but I think that there's still an opportunity for it to be a great company. I'm actually thinking about taking a position in Black Sky, believe it or not, but I'm going to wait another quarter or two before I take that opportunity. But going back to what Steve said, I agree 100%. I would much rather them take that $1 billion and invest in select industries like they did with, all the different companies in it. Because Steve said it's something that maybe people need to hear, so I'm going to reiterate it. They looked at companies that were in brand new frontier industries that might be early, but they will learn those industries and now have the opportunity to set themselves up. So if other companies come to them with, helicopter-like transportation, or if they come in with flying cars, or they come in with satellite technology, or they come in with EV charging, or they come in with that, Palantir now knows the biggest problems and what they're trying to solve. And so if a company approaches them, say, yep, we have the idea. We know exactly how to help you in any sort of way. This is what we're planning on doing, how we can partner with you to make your business the number one in that particular industry. And so I still am with 100% with what Steve said. I'm not devaluing that at all. And I think a lot of people think that the several $100 million that they spent on these SPACs has been a waste. And I am a firm believer that
the shit was genius.
I thought so. And I thought that they should double down. And I was very upset that they were talking so poorly. I think the only reason why they talk poorly about the SPAC investments is because of the reception based off of Wall Street. Now, Wall Street, you have to think, generally speaking, only thinks 12 months out. Most of the time, they don't think 5 to 10 years out. And Palantir should stick to their guns and be the company that always is 5 to 10 years out forward looking, and believe and continue to do what they're doing, because that SPAC investment wasn't what Wall Street wanted. It was what Palantir and what Palantir's vision is all about. And I think that they should keep that sort of vision instead of being influenced by Wall Street. And that's my true belief. And I think that Steve is right. And I think Steve is 100% in alignment with what management thought when they make the SPAC investments. And I feel like they're being too influenced by Wall Street at the moment. That's just my thought about the SPAC investments.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I thought the SPAC made a lot of sense. I thought this chart was just really interesting news this week, because it did show that I thought we were underwater on a lot of the SPACs as well. But when the 10K comes out, you can actually go through the numbers, and seems like we financially engineered a way to not be shit on the SPACs. So not too bad for Palantir in the context of their SPAC investments. I wanted to go to another topic now, which is this Azul Energy thing. We didn't get to talk about it last week because we had earnings, but because you're from UDOC, Matt, I wanted to know if you could give us some clarity about this. Foundry is going to serve as the digital foundation for Azul Energy's upstream production business. They're going to try to do 250,000 barrels a day versus 200,000. Did you get to look into this partnership, and any unique takeaways you can have from this, given Palantir's role in the oil and gas industry?
I
can pull up the press release as well.
Yeah, pull up the press release.
So Foundry is going to help them manage their current 200K barrels of daily oil. First of all, is 200 and 250 even a lot, Matt? Or is that like a very small amount?
200 to 250. You have to think we make 100 million barrels of oil a day. So this is about 0.2 to 0.25% of the annual oil production, the daily oil production. So that's a lot. I mean, you think about it. When you think about the balance of oil and gas, and then I'll have to defer because I shouldn't say too much, and maybe I could feed off of what Steve says. The balance of oil prices is, generally speaking, determined off of 1 million or 2 million at most barrels per day. So if you were to wipe out this 200 to 250,000 barrels a day, today, the oil price would probably shoot up a couple bucks, right? So I mean, it is important. So it's that supply demand curve for oil and gas is very sensitive. But I think the thing is what you need to focus on with Azul. The reason why I think BP and ENI spun it out and their portions of the Angola assets into Azul was really to minimize costs. I think when you're associated with such of these large companies, there's so much bureaucracy that goes on that separating a company into its own really allows you to kind of streamline and focus on, you know, your particular balance sheet rather than the overall group balance sheets that these companies probably had to feed into. And so what I will say is focusing on getting your dollar cost average down per barrel, you know, your lifting costs down per barrel and everything the like is hugely fundamental, because then you can invest in other assets or pay back your shareholders or what have you. So anyway, I know that BP has already, I mean, you have to think BP, their Angolan assets were probably already using something of Palantir. There's been rumors of ENI potentially using Palantir. I keep asking people that say ENI is already using it to come up with actual real links, and I'm not seeing it. This is the first that I'm seeing. My hope, all in all, is that with this, ENI sees that opportunity. Now, some people say they're already using it. I don't think they are. But my hope is that they see how good it does in Azul, which is still partly on the balance sheets of both BP and ENI. And then eventually you capture all the ENI in the long term. I don't know, Steve, if you have any thoughts or if you know ENI is actually using Palantir. I don't know.
No, I actually do not know. I will pull up. Give me a moment.
By the way, I put the StreamYard in the chat. We have one more topic, but it's a small one. So if anyone wants to join and ask a Palantir question, please feel free to join. Camera and mic on.
But the thought is, so let me just put it in perspective. Say you're able to lower the dollar, the average production cost by $1 per barrel. They're making 200,000 barrels a day times 365 days a year. That's 73 million barrels that they're making. So if you were to save $1 on every barrel, they're able to drill another deep water well, which could be, you know, in Angola. Those things flow, man. Those are great sands. They could flow anywhere between 20, 30,000 barrels a day to start. It probably won't end that way for the first year, but you think about it, over the course of several years, you're able to save another well's worth, or say you're able to save $2 per barrel, then you're saving $150 million.
And that's why they're able to pay Foundry so much money, because the savings are just
100%
ridiculous.
100%.
You know?
So to echo what Matt said, 250,000 barrels per day may not seem like a big number per se, but you're already at a deficit from what is produced and consumed on a daily basis. These are not my numbers. These are from BP and the Energy Institute. I can drop the link. You can go through it. I think consumption is on page 20 and production's on page 15. Don't ask me how I know it. I read those reports a lot. And there's a spread between the two every year. So you take another 250 off the market, it will impact prices a little bit. How much? Who knows? But it would be significant. And if the Palantir can help them be more efficient, I mean, great. I mean, I think that Palantir working with as many oil and gas companies as possible would be great, because guess what? Oil and gas, where is it? Is
going nowhere, baby. Drill, baby, drill.
Look, people need to understand that oil and gas is going to be here for decades and decades and decades and decades. It's not going away. It's not just to power cars. It's not just to power homes. They are the number one inputs for manufacturing. They're the number one inputs for creating plastic. Plastic is used in everything from pacemakers to computer parts to the keyboard you're typing on to the cell phone, not replacing it. So people need to understand that. When you look at what the EIA is saying, production for petroleum in just the reference case is expected to increase through 2050. For dry natural gas production is expected to increase through 2050. So I would love to see Palantir working with more and more oil and gas companies. I love that they were working with Kinder Morgan. I would love for them to work with EPD, ENB, ET, and all the big ones. It goes energy infrastructure,
Wait, ET, that's the shit in space, right?
Pipeline.
energy transfer,
Oh, Jesus.
pipelines.
Took me a second.
And no,
Wait, no. ET is the
no,
fucking
you don't
the brown
listen.
thing.
You can phone home. I don't need to phone home. You can phone home.
Yo, I never watched the movie, bro. I need to watch it. All right, we got someone in the background. Scott, you're live with us on Palantir Weekly at 11:50, August 18th. I feel like one of those radio guys that's like, you're live on 105.1.
I'm live on 105. I'm it.
What's up,
Sorry,
bro?
I look like crap. I just fell asleep for the SoFi.
You always look beautiful, man. You always look
no
beautiful.
disrespect on the SoFi. I love SoFi. I'm invested in it now. But yeah, I took a quick little nap. I want to remind everybody, smash the like button. For real, smash the like button. Show this
Thanks, my
this
guy.
weekly show a little love because it's a great show.
Scott, are you coming to Vegas with us October 26th?
I'm planning on. I just talked to Garcia. He said he might have his wife. He might not. So if not, maybe we'll do it together.
You know Garcia? You guys are like friends over YouTube?
No. We just talked tonight.
Talk. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I'll probably go alone. It's just I'm trying to split a hotel bill in half. You know, that'd be a big benefit.
Yeah, I'll send everyone the details. We're gonna figure out the pricing on all this stuff. But
I went last year and it was cool. So
Steve's gonna be there, by the way. He's gonna teach me how to smoke a cigar in Vegas for the first time.
Hell yeah, I want to be there. Teach me too, because I fucking just cough on them things. All three of you are, for the most part, bull Palantir, right? I know that top two are. Steve, you are too, right?
Yeah, for the long term. I mean, it can do anything in the short term, but for the long term, until they give me a reason not to be, I am bullish.
So that's the whole thing. Like, I get the long-term thing because I don't give a shit that it was at 20 and now it's at 13. I don't care. But my question for you, it's very hypothetical. It's a little outlandish, but I just wanted to ask you each, maybe I could get you to both say a bear case and a bull case for the year that Palantir will hit 100.
Okay, so the question is, when does Palantir hit 100? And I guess the better framing of the question is, what is the bear case for Palantir never getting to $100, which is a $200 billion market cap, versus them getting to $100, which would be 200 billion. That's 200 billion, right? $100. Yeah, 200 times 2 billion shares. Yeah. So 200
or you could just give an over under, like, and that's your rough estimate. But say things go decently well, not extraordinary. Maybe it's 2040, maybe it's 2030, maybe it's.
It's a good question.
So it's what, a 6x, 7x?
From here? Yeah, 6x. Okay, so what is the bull or bear case to have a 6x on Palantir from these valuations? I'll go first. I think the bull case is AIP. So I was thinking about AIP, right? We have 400 clients. We're charging 2.9 million per average from client right now. The real hard part we're all stuck in, the conundrum, the paradox, the weird kind of situation is what is AIP worth? Because if it's worth more than 2.9 million a year for each of these clients, if it's worth, let's say 5 million times 400 clients, there's your 2 billion right there, right? 2 billion right there in annual recurring revenue, 5 million off of 400 clients. Now, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it's worth 150,000 a month. Maybe there's no way it's worth 5 million. I don't know. But until we know what the value of an LLM is for an enterprise and like a fully integrated operating system combined with that LLM, because that's what it would be. I don't think it would just be an LLM for sales or marketing. It would be for the entire organization. We have no idea. If that scales out and these 400 clients go to like 2,000 clients by 2030, 2035-ish, that's where I think we get to $100 a share in a $200 billion company. Okay. I think AIP has to play out. I think there's nothing else that I can think of as a major bull case outside of that, unless they introduce some new product that we don't know yet. How does AIP scale? It has to go through all these different sectors, energy, healthcare, et cetera.
Would you say AIP is like, it's the stepping stone to get people in and then sell them, right? That's what everyone's been saying. It's got to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, because Sean was talking on the earnings call that Foundry and the ontology is like a gateway towards the LLM even being useful, giving it context and reality and all that stuff. And then Apollo has different use cases. And the way Palantir is framing it is, if generative AI is the future and what CodeStrap was saying on the Spaces the other day was like, he was trying to deal with some regulations and he like plugged in the regulation rule book, put it into AIP, and within 5 minutes, he was able to ask it any questions and get answers versus having to look through like thousands of pages. And that's one use case. So now imagine that use case in a whole fucking hospital or for like a whole fucking country's government. And so if that is correct, if all of us are correct on that thesis and enterprise spending actually becomes 10% of budgets, which is couple $1 trillion in the next 7-8 years on just AI spending, and there's more than LLMs in the next couple of years and Palantir's on the front lines, then yeah, I mean, there's your bull case. It should happen.
But what year? I know it's no one knows. I understand that. But if you had to guess, you got to give some kind of guess. It's like no one can hold you to it. No one can say,
2032.
oh, he said this.
2032.
You're 2032?
Yeah, and I'm being extra conservative here because I don't want to say 2028 or anything like that. But I think I think that's what, 8 years from now? That's to get 100 a share in 8 years. I think it's reasonable. Yeah. I don't think that's crazy in 8 years.
No, I don't think so either.
The bear case is we can't sell this fucking product. Wall Street just never gets it because the growth isn't there. Databricks or Snowflake eats our lunch and they come up with a better generative AI application. I don't know if any of these things will happen. I don't think they will, but if they do, then yeah, we're screwed. So
yeah. I think a bull case, and I'll go off on a tangent as well. I think a bull case would be 2027. I do see an opportunity for us to get to about 2 billion in sort of adjusted net income in 2026, so an adjusted EPS of about $1. I'm anticipating that with buybacks and stuff of the like, we'll probably keep about $2 to $2.2 billion worth of, $2 to 2.2 billion in share count. So I'm assuming, with that EPS being about $1, I think that you might be able to get to probably $1.25 or so in 2027. So I think you might see 2027 as a potential if you kind of use a price to earnings of about 40, right? So you're making $2 to $2.5 billion of adjusted net income. Multiply that by 40, you'll probably maybe be able to get to $100. But then again, it all kind of depends on kind of what you're doing. The thing that is kind of the outlier here, and kind of building on what Amit said, the thing that's beautiful, and maybe CodeStrap can kind of help me here if I'm not explaining it appropriately, is AIP, just based off of what I kind of understand here and based off what I listened to in the earnings call in 2Q, just a few weeks ago, is unlike any other product on the market because, and this is something that Crossroads kind of said to me the other day, and I didn't really understand it until I listened fully to the earnings report, is if a company like, what's the company that was on, there's a pharmaceutical, there's a Novartis or something like that, or I forget what company.
Novartis, yep.
Yeah, Novartis. So they have their own sort of ontology that they're using. They've kind of collaborated with Palantir. But say any company that has their own sort of ontology or classification network and has actually been working and understands, and they're actually in a step where they have things set up and organized to appropriately catalog within their sort of global operations, then they can use AIP without having to use Foundry, right? The thing that's beautiful about Foundry is because I think a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, data analytics is great. But it's like, I think a lot of people don't truly know how to appropriately categorize data throughout. And that's the beauty of Foundry. And that's why I think everyone's just kind of catching up to where a lot of the Foundry stuff that was kind of going on in 2016, 2017, why they keep saying they're 5 years ahead. I think people are just kind of getting into the data analytics piece. So anyway, I think that there's where a lot of people might be like, oh, well, let me use ChatGPT or OpenAI or this. It's like, well, they're going to soon find out that product doesn't actually do shit because they're basically their product isn't really set up. Their data isn't set up to be actually use it in a manner which they can use an AIP like product. And so I agree with kind of what you said earlier, Scott, which is AIP connects in directly to any sort of database that is appropriately set up. And you can then use that to accelerate and set up guide rails to manipulate data or do tasks on behalf of yourself. And set up procedures to automatically execute or set up decisions for you to kind of make decisions on. So anyway, it's super, super interesting sort of shit. But I think that could accelerate it and get you to a $2 to $2.5 billion net income by 2027.
So for my own understanding, Palantir's LLM, it's not like ChatGPT. It's more geared towards the company. It takes all the company's questions and everything that's going on, and it's geared towards the company,
geared towards proprietary data. Yeah.
And are they charging for it?
Not yet.
AIP. Yeah, not well. Who knows? Maybe some people yes, maybe some people no.
Right now, it's just to bring people in.
I mean, they haven't recognized any revenue yet. Carp explicitly said on the earnings call, we're not. Yep. And that, I was like, they brought in 533 All of it's off Foundry and Apollo and Gotham. None of it's off AIP. I thought some of it would. No, Karp was like, we will figure out how to monetize. Trust us. He said, "Trust me, bro," to Wall Street.
I think
And
that's
all of
even
But
us
is
were
it-
like,
bull case.
So this is where I kind of get a question, and I want to hear Steve's thoughts as well. So Chris and I had a great conversation about this last night of people using Microsoft 365 versus using Google Docs, right? So Office 365 or Windows 365, you're going to be paying for subscriptions for Excel and Word and PowerPoint and all those things. Versus if you use Google Docs, that shit's all free. But what they're hoping is that you're going to use is the Google Cloud platform. Is it going to be the same sort of technology or method of sales that Palantir is trying to do? They hope that you use AIP because that plugs directly into Foundry, and they'll really charge you on the Foundry side, but they're using AIP as a window to kind of get into your souls. So that's kind of my thought process is like, well, they don't really give a shit about if you're using AIP, or they care if you're using AIP. They don't care about charging for AIP because hopefully they realize it's like, well, how do we use AIP? Well, you have to set up all this data in a very categorized sort of manner. Well, how do we do that? Well, here's this product called Foundry, which is set up and is 5 years ahead of whatever the hell you can build internally. We can do it for you in about 18 months.
So this is interesting.
You're
You're saying Foundry is what monetizes. AIP is the Trojan horse. You don't even think AIP is the thing that makes.
Yeah, haven't you seen all the Trojan horses all over Twitter that people having all this shit?
That's true. That's true.
AIP, I mean Foundry, Gotham, Apollo, and then AIP is the.
All right, Steve, let's get you in this. What do you think?
I'm going to give you 3 scenarios.
Okay.
A wishful / unrealistic, a bull and a bear.
Okay.
The unrealistic, and I hope it freaking happens, but I think this is a very big long shot, is 2026.
$100 a share, 2026.
A huge long shot, wishful thinking, but it could be a possibility. And the only reason I say that is because if you catch a real AI boom in a economy where the Fed is cutting rates and the Fed gets to 4.3% in 2025, and they go lower and get under 4% in 2026, cost of capital is going to be reduced so much that businesses are more likely to expand. Whether they're hitting the debt markets, issuing bonds out to 2055, they're going to be expanding, and you could see a ton of deals. You could see a bull market, and this could get caught up in mania again. So that's like a very low possibility.
That could happen. That could very
possible.
well happen. It might be a meme sell-off with a bunch of stocks, but it could happen.
Because I do think we're headed into a bull market. We're not headed into a recession. And I could go over the economics behind that at a different time and make a full presentation, but I have a ton of slides about it.
Oh, we know. You love your PowerPoints. We know.
My bear case is that the software doesn't really catch on from where we are today. The deals stop, they curtail and then stop, and we just kind of stay stagnant. My bull case, to get to 100 a share, you need to roughly 6.7x to do that.
Correct.
You need a market cap of about 204, 205 billion. So to get there, you need about just over 5 billion of free cash flow at a multiple about 41x. Now,
you guys, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you guys keep referring, I don't know if it was Amit or Matt, but free cash flow. And I keep bringing myself back to income. And I guess income's not so important because free cash flow is more important. Income can be manipulated and such.
Yeah,
so really what it comes down to is free cash flow, I guess.
Yeah, they're both measures of profitability. Earnings per share is based off of operating income or earnings from operations, and free cash flow is just simply cash from operations minus CapEx. And it's much harder to be manipulated because you don't have charges against the company, income taxes, or any of that stuff. So companies can do write-downs or write-offs, et cetera, et cetera. So some people look at price to free cash flow multiples. And at least when I look at what companies are doing, putting a 35 to 45 price to free cash flow multiple on Palantir isn't that crazy when Pepsi trades at 45 times free cash flow. Microsoft trades at over 40 times free cash flow. Meta trades in the 30s. Apple trades at 33. I mean, it's not crazy for a growth company to have that type of free cash flow multiple. So the question that I have in a realistic case is, when does Palantir get to roughly 5 billion of annual free cash flow? And maybe
What are we at right now in annual free cash flow? Like
uh,
3 or
800
4
million, 800 something million.
Adjusted is going to be like 400 to 500, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just
so right now on an annual basis.
While you're saying that, let me just read Coast Rep comment. He says Foundry plus AIP gives you everything from the semantic understanding of the data, along with the tools to actually perform the work. And he also says the ontology provides a semantic layer to help Gen AI understand your data. It also provides the tools and actions the LLM can do to be the meaningful work. So the semantic thing he's talking about is like the thing that interprets how many doors you have in your inventory if you're a car manufacturer, and then the tooling infrastructure is actually asking the LLM, how many doors do I have? And so those two combine together to give the answers. Go ahead, Steve.
So we're at about 380 million right now, free cash flow, regular, straight, not adjusted. So you got to think over the next decade, because the way I look at it is computing doesn't stay stagnant. It's one of the quickest morphing industries there is. And you look at how just computing in general has changed drastically over the past 2 decades. I don't think that the way that we are going to do things in the future is the way that we do it today. I mean, you look at just products like Workday for back office enterprise, and you look at how companies are run. I think you're going to see a lot of adoption in these players. And if Palantir is a top tier AI and we're at the forefront of it, there could be a huge roadmap on the TAM. And if there is, there's certainly a path to generating 4 or 5 billion free cash flow. And when you put a normalized multiple on that, it could get
Which is what 30 multiple.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you have Microsoft and Apple trading in the 33 to 43 range, and if Palantir grows quicker than them, I don't think it's crazy assigning a similar multiple or even a higher multiple. I mean, look, for Pepsi to trade, I keep going back to Pepsi because it's a boring industrial. For them to trade at 45 times free cash flow, what's the argument that Palantir shouldn't?
And on top of that, you got a retail base that's ready to buy for good or for worse.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at it just from a numbers standpoint.
I know. I'm just saying, if the numbers get exciting,
retail base, it could happen 2026.
Yeah, that's my case for why.
Look, I need to say it once again. That is a huge long shot. Do not invest because I have a theory about that. But look, if you go to the St. Louis Fed and you look at what they're going to do at rates are projected to start being cut next year. It's economics 101. When the cost of capital is less, business expansion is more because you're borrowing at a cheaper rate. I mean,
so that doesn't impact Palantir as much because they're not using any debt.
No. But
yeah, but the other companies.
Oh, got it.
So businesses are more likely to take on new projects with implementation, implement new software, which is great for Palantir because the cost of capital, if they need to issue bonds or issue shares for equity to pay for it, they're more likely to do in a low cost environment.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
This is awesome. Thank you, Scott. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
I do have some thoughts for you guys. Sorry, Amit, I'm going to take over the interview here really quick. My other thought process is, though, is like what other verticals do you think that Palantir could take as a platform? And my one would be one that's very simple, which I don't think we've even really thought of as of yet, but I'm going to throw it on the table, is voice. And how does voice kind of connect to AIP and stuff of the like? You think it might not necessarily be good for an office environment?
What do you mean, voice over IP?
Yeah.
Like asking the LLM by just talking?
Yeah, like a Siri or an Alexa. Or
do you think that matters in the enterprise? Do you think that
it might not matter in the enterprise, but it might matter on the battlefield, or it might matter when you are communicating across, say, a Teams or something like that, if it's able to listen in on your Teams. calls or your online meetings, where it's going to start taking notes on behalf of you and also creating some search internet meme, all the things. The You think about it, it's like, how many times do you go into a meeting, discuss all these things, and maybe it's a perfect example for you, Amit, where you walk out of it and you're like, shit, I didn't write any of that down. I was supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and then it's like,
I could see that happening. The thing is, I've seen so many tools that summarize your meeting because they transcribe it. And
I'm not talking about summarizing it though. I'm talking about actually actively acting on your behalf while you're having the meeting.
Like a legit assistant is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
like getting things to a point where it's literally listening in on the meeting and you're having a verbal conversation, and it's just, it immediately gets those things set up towards when you're done that meeting. Now all you have to do, because you're set up with Gotham or you're set up with Foundry, you just have to say, okay, yes, decide, because it already has the guide rail set up for you to work on in the background while it's kind of doing it.
That would increase the efficiency. Like let's say you and I have a meeting. I'm a forward deployed engineer. You're a client. I have a meeting. The AIP voice assistant is listening to everything. You're like, Amit, I need X, Y, Z done. I'm like, got it, Matt. Cool. Keep paying Palantir. I'm going to keep doing my job. And then after the meeting, I'm talking to AIP being like, schedule this on this day, do this, make sure you do this, blah, blah, blah. And it just does all that shit. It doesn't really execute the task because you need a human there, but it kind of sets up the infrastructure. Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Like at the end of the meeting, it's just like, hey, we heard in the meeting you wanted to set up something on Tuesday, the 22nd, and you're like, yes. Versus having it's something like they have Gantt charts within Palantir now or Foundry now. They have so many different applications that are set up and customized. It's like, it's going to be better than what a Siri or a Google Home or an Alexa could do, because it doesn't necessarily have an insight into the proprietary data of the organization.
No, it's really interesting because I think for the past, and Steve, I'll get you in on this in a second. I think a lot of us have been thinking that we are going to move past a textual interface for a while. I know Gary Vaynerchuk has been talking about this on the consumer end, and we haven't really seen that happen. Like, I know Google has the microphone button. You can press it and be like, search for blah, 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 but no one really does it. We still type. In the enterprise world, if there's a way in which just interacting via voice is way more efficient at getting something done, you could potentially see that be a use case that people actually adopt, and that's a whole new paradigm that we enter into, like a Siri on steroids on proprietary data. Go ahead, Steve. Any thoughts on that? Nope. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Voice is very interesting. I've always thought voice could be the next frontier for a lot of different things, but it doesn't seem to have taken off yet. Obviously, chatbots have taken off.
Dude, voice is not the next frontier.
I don't know, man.
Think about this. Dictation on computers has been around for decades. I don't see anybody use it, and my office is huge. Don't see anybody use it. Now, in the field is a different story. When you're actually doing things and you don't want to type, it is much more efficient. But in an office setting, I don't see dictation for anything. And this is not new technology.
Yeah, I guess talking to an LLM via voice, maybe there's potential there. Maybe not, but I mean,
I think there's a lot more than you think, because, and I'm not saying that Google or Amazon don't have an opportunity to do the same, but think about it. If or voice AIP here, something that's, you have to think, if it says a name, or it says an asset, or it says a facility name or a well name or something like that, it has to know the underlying semantic layer that CodeStrap was kind of talking about in order to actually provide and do those things. Think about, like, as nice as, say, Siri and Alexa and all that stuff.
Cut you off real quick. If it gets to a point where it's Jarvis from Iron Man and you have Tony Stark's computer, that type of thing, that would be amazing. And I could see that completely taking off.
Doug says in the chat, he's a nurse. He says, you need to have a verbal convo during an emergency in a hospital. One person on the code team isn't hands-on. It's just for info giving. So AIP could give the info and you could ask with voice. He's actually really resonating with Matt's idea in the chat. He's saying in the hospital, it's different than the office. Which might be
exactly. But that's why I said in the field, it's much different. If hospital would be a field setting. oil field would be a different setting. Like any type of in the field activity, different setting than in the office.
In the office. Gotcha. Garcia.
And I think I mean, think about if you have like some folks out in the middle that are on a radio or something like that, right? And they're focusing on a war. Say
I
they're in
agree,
some
but
sort of
I'm putting hospital in the field aspect.
okay.
By the way, Nitin says we use dictation a lot in hospitals. For physician, it tends to be pretty accurate with really complex lines. So if healthcare is a $4 trillion market and Palantir is going after that, and voice and AIP becomes a critical layer in healthcare, that is a world where it's another vertical that we're not thinking of, that it could expand there. I think this is, I like Matt's approach here because this is the time to be creative.
Yeah,
You know,
Matt
you're
could
not
be
investing in
honest
a
with
company that has typical ARR margins and shit. We have no idea what AIP can become.
Matt, tell the team at Palantir to get on it.
Well, I don't have that. I only have it at UDoc, and I can only help with that. But maybe I can introduce that idea through them. But I think the other thing that people aren't necessarily thinking about as well when it comes to this is this has, the fact that we don't already do this. We kind of try to do it, but every state is in charge of their own sort of healthcare. Every state's in charge of their own schooling and stuff of the like. You have to think of how many different quote unquote languages people have to learn across the United States. Things might change from, state to state with respect to all these things. If you have the ability to connect them all and have the same sort of ontology throughout all the schools, all the hospitals, think of all the efficiencies you'd be able to create, right? It's the same thing as like, think about when you like, maybe Chris isn't the best person to come to, but Sachin, for example, was born in India, or I think he was at least, or he's definitely not born in the United States because he has an accent. He had to come to the United States and relearn everything in a different language because not everybody's speaking the same language. So think about how long it took him to learn how to do things in college or anything, because he had to translate twice, right? Until he became completely fluent in English. So think about now the same thing is like, think about how many times we have to learn different technology or terminology or semantics, that semantic layer again, because we have to go from this geographic location to this geographic location. So if everything is, and it's, I know this is basically the underlying sort of fundamentals of what Palantir is all about and the data structuring, but think of the implications in schools, hospitals. It's like, think how much quicker things will be because you can now have a travel nurse that knows the same language in Nashville, Tennessee versus Fort Lauderdale, Florida versus Los Angeles, California, and they're all speaking the same language.
Because AIP would just auto-translate it in whatever language the client needs it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the data language is kind of what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it's interesting. If we beat fucking Siri, that bullshit fucking product that Apple made 10 years ago, that's absolute garbage. If we beat Siri, that would be very exciting for me.
Matt, are you a Tesla fan?
Oh boy.
Tesla. I will say this.
All right, guys, real quick. The pod is basically over. If you want to stay for the next 10 minutes on Tesla, you can. If you don't, that's okay. I'm limiting it to 10 minutes because I got to go. It's 12:18 a.m. So I'll let you do your
it's got to be this girl
hater stuff on Tesla.
No,
but if you guys want 10 minutes on Tesla,
it's a buy her a drink. Whoa. Anyway, I am a firm believer that what Elon has done with Tesla fundamentally changed the car industry and has been an accelerator by maybe 10 to 20 years of the car industry because everyone was focusing very much on maximizing profits and EVs weren't there yet and yada, yada, yada. So from that perspective, I applaud what Tesla has done. The thing that I can't get my head around is people talking about the Tesla energy side of things and the robots things. And I'll set you up with something, Steve. People talk about and if you can coach me on this and help me understand why it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, I'll be extremely happy. So Tesla in their headlines
turned into such a Tesla. Oh my gosh.
Tesla
you guys get to do this because the stock is down. That's why you get, if it was 300, you couldn't do this shit, but go ahead.
Bullshit. I've done it.
No, I'd be able to do it.
Yeah,
regardless.
But people wouldn't take it as seriously. They're taking it seriously.
This is what people don't understand. There's a difference between power and energy, right? Yes. So when Tesla says we made 6.4 gigawatt hours of energy in 2Q, So an annualized run rate of, let's just say 28 gigawatt hours. Okay, cool. You have companies like NextEra Energy that make 28 gigawatts a day of renewable energy, not 28 gigawatts over 365. So my thought process is especially if you put that in the answer of how much energy does the United States use in a year, it's like 1,500 terawatts, right? So when you start thinking about the amount of market share that Tesla Energy has, it's minuscule comparatively to the entire grid that the United States has. But yet people are throwing on probably hundreds of billions of dollars of valuation, or even $5 to $10 billion worth of valuation. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. I understand the mega packs. That part is really cool. I think that is great. That's a good opportunity for them. But I don't understand where that is potentially $100 to $200 billion business. The thing that I also don't understand is I could understand, and I'll let you finish because you're probably going to educate me, and I'm really looking forward to it because I tried talking to several people at this point, and I don't think it really resonated, or maybe they didn't understand the business enough. Tesla is still using the solar part of their business as installation only, from what I understand. And so they're only getting the revenue once they install. And even still, they have pulled back on that. If I was Tesla and I had $20 billion of cash on hand like they do, I would take the solar panels that they make, create commercial solar parks, and own the utility part of the business and sell that power to the grid. Even if they're making a 5 to 10% return, who cares? If you care that much about converting the grid to renewable energy and stuff, use that money and stop letting it build. It doesn't make sense to me. If you were truly caring about it, instead of just installing 250 megawatts on individual homes and taking that individual, like, think about how much operational complexity there is about installing on individual homes. They have so much land in Nevada. Build a solar park in Nevada. It doesn't make any sense to me. You have $20 billion worth of cash. Fucking do something with it. So please, I would love for you to educate me, because I'm not trying to, like, I'm trying to look for and understand why it trades at such a rich valuation. And I truly hope somebody helps me understand.
Yeah, I'm going to write another article. I haven't run the numbers. I just put something together very quickly during the podcast that I'm going to share. It is Excel.
You got 5 more minutes.
No, you're not going anywhere, dude.
Bro, I don't care about all this Tesla's overvalued stuff.
No,
you guys aren't even buying it, so it doesn't matter.
I'm a shareholder.
Your wife has 1 share, Steve.
You don't know how many shares we have, and I'm a shareholder.
Okay.
But I agree everything Matt said about Tesla. You got to applaud Elon. He did something nobody else could do. He took the fight to the auto companies and won underfunded and with no operation. I mean, nobody else could do it. Hats off to him. Guy's amazing. But this is a car company. Like, I don't care what anybody says. The numbers are the numbers. The freaking car company. 86% of their revenue comes from cars. Energy is less than 6%. Services are less than 8%. To say that this is a tech company is crazy, for the simple fact that you can talk all you want about FSD. You can talk all you want about them gathering miles and all this stuff. You need government regulation for FSD to work. Good luck getting that to happen anytime soon. Good luck.
You're forgetting about full self-driving, but that's okay. You're not a visionary, so
I'm not. Dude, you need government regulation for that to.
Oh shit! I got it. Okay, hold on. I got it real quick. Code Strap says heading out to listen to Rich Men North of Richmond, aka Matt's younger brother. Respect to all 3 of you in the community. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy.
What is
we'll
this?
See you next week.
Everyone keeps sending it to me, man, and I've yet to listen to it. But everyone.
Anyway.
I have to do call-in super chat. I forgot to do that. So go ahead. 5 more minutes and then call in.
So when you think about Tesla, the problem becomes I don't like the fact that they're cutting margins and they're cutting costs. And here's why. Yes, they're trying to step on everybody's throat. And I get it from a business aspect. You need to be ruthless. And Elon is screwing everybody else over. But that's only going to occur for a finite amount of time. He's also doing it because the cost to borrow is so expensive. That's impacting purchasing cars. And you have real competition coming. And I don't care if Tesla gets under 30,000 on whatever model they're going to put out. When Toyota hits and Honda hits, you're going to have real competition. And there's a lot of people that are, Tesla is going to be everything. And guess what? They're not. Like, you're not overtaking Toyota on scale of cars in the economy. Just not happening anytime soon. To think that that's going to happen is crazy. Tesla's a great company, and they're going to continue to be a great company. But to get the multiple that they're getting, you need to be a non-auto company. It just, the numbers don't make sense.
Yep.
And you can't refute the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. Energy, this is just the revenue. This isn't even the gross profit from these areas. It's very slim outside of auto. And the talk about the robo-taxi thing is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. Who is buying a freaking car outside of, from a business aspect? I would never throw my personal automobile into a robo-taxi. I don't want anybody in it.
Yeah.
Fuck that. That's never.
Well, the thing that bothers me a little bit is everyone is just like, oh, Waymo, it's Waymo's the first one that actually has gotten approval to legit have full robo-taxi status in a city versus Tesla. Like, and people are like, oh, well, yeah, but Waymo's, not. It's like, well, you can't discount that. It's reality.
There's going to be competition. There's not just going to be one company doing it.
And another thing is as well, going back to their full self-driving, even if people are speculating it's going to cost $15,000 on a monthly revenue charge. So people now, if you've bought new cars, they have such adaptive cruise control that basically does everything except switch lanes for you. So these things come automatically with the vehicle, right? It might be an extra $1,000, $2,000, or whatever, but it's not going to be $15,000 and a monthly charge that, say, Tesla's going to charge you. So if you're strapped for cash, you're probably going to buy that Toyota Tundra, or you're probably going to buy that Subaru Outback, which basically has the same exact capability, except the ability to not change lanes for the time being. And you're not going to have to spend $15,000 up front, and you're not going to have to pay an extra $150 a month. And you're basically going to get the same exact sort of thing. Yes, you might have to change lanes and stuff of the like, but I mean, it cuts down on 80 to 90% of the work. So
I got a theory about the Cybertruck too. I think that Musk made the Cybertruck as a joke just to see if he could pull it off, and it ended up becoming a huge thing. It is ugly, and I don't know why anybody would want to drive it. It is crazy.
Okay, regardless of everything you guys are saying, the only reason you get to say this is because the stock is down. The stock's going to go back up because Tesla's a cult.
When are you buying?
I'm not saying I'm buying. I'm just saying in general, the valuation stuff you're talking about, even if you're correct, all that auto margins, all that shit, it doesn't fucking matter, bro. Tesla is going to be Tesla because it's Tesla. It's not going to when interest rates go down, you think Tesla's going to be stuck at 150 a share, 120 a share? That's not happening. It's Tesla's going up. So you can be in your little circle of Tesla's overvalued, it's stupid, the world is dumb, we're right. It doesn't fucking matter. Tesla's going to go up because it's Tesla.
But don't say that I can say it now because it's down, because I've said it the whole way. I've never
but what I'm saying is none of your analysis matters, Steve, because the stock's going to go up.
It may. Tesla.
It will. We know Tesla's going to be at 300.
Amit, you have to think yes and no, right? I could see a place where Tesla goes back to where it was, but you have to think all these people were sitting here being like, well, if you just apply a 30% gross margin to the auto and it's going to sell extra, it's not 30% anymore. It's 9%.
Yeah, he is cutting his freaking.
Did you guys see Xpeng's earnings today?
No.
They lost. They went from a 14% margin last year to a negative 4% margin this year. Tesla, even with their price cuts, has a 14% margin. So when you guys talk about competition, Xpeng, which is one of the premier Chinese brands, can't make a fucking dollar or yuan because they have to cut prices so dramatically. So I think this Tesla price cuts thing is not an issue. It's a short-term thing. Long-term, they're going to be fine. I think it's a genius thing to do. And even if you're correct that 95% of the business is automotive, whatever, they're going to survive in this space, not Xpeng and BYD.
They're not going to go to zero. Nobody's saying they're going to
not
zero.
going to survive.
So that's my point. So if they're going to survive, and then you got retail that's a cult on the stock, and you got interest rates coming down, this bad boy's going back to $1 trillion.
But the thing
know
is
what's
when you drop it to a 9% margin, what makes you any different than GM and Ford?
the retail cult.
But that could change. The retail
No,
cult
I mean maybe
it
but
can go to a different stock. It can go to the AI side.
it's not leaving you. If Elon dies, yes. If Elon retires, yes. But if Elon's there, I mean, look at fucking SpaceX, bro. You think when SpaceX goes public, it's not gonna have a whole cult behind? Like, here's what I'm conceding. All your numerical stuff is correct.
SpaceX will never go public.
Okay, well, if they did, they would have
No,
huge cults. And by the way, they're profitable now, as per the Wall Street Journal. The point is, everything you guys are saying is correct on the numbers. I've told you both this privately. You've always been right about Tesla. Chris is right about Tesla. But just like Chris said, when it goes to 150, he's going to buy, and then he's going to dump again on retail when it runs up, because it will run up. Like, we know this is going to happen.
I'll buy calls.
It's not going to run up. I think it can easily run up. I'm just saying the valuation makes no sense, and I won't be surprised if it goes lower than 150, not stop at 150.
But here's the other thing I don't think you're taking into account. When it goes lower than 150, this is where the retail cult really matters. There are so many people that are, for lack of a better word, brainwashed.
See huge volume.
Exactly. No, that's when I brought up the 6.4 gigawatt hours versus people are like, oh my God, Tesla energy to the moon. It's like 6.4 gigawatt hours is fucking nothing over.
Nothing.
It's
But my point is,
like 3 megawatts a day.
If Tesla goes to 100 January 2023 levels, you don't think so many people that, like, my parents wanted to buy at that time. They got so mad they didn't buy. And my parents are not the most like sophisticated investors. There's going to be millions of those people buying the shit out of it because, like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. I got to get Tesla back.
Yeah, I think that
right?
that's going to be a logical thing. I'm not saying that's going to go down and stay down. I'm just saying it's going to go. It's more likely to go down right now than go right up.
When do you think it goes down to 140 or 150, whatever you think it happens?
Look, I won't be surprised if it goes to 150. I won't be surprised if it goes to 100. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it goes back to 250 or 300 afterwards either.
Well, when? Put a time date on it. I don't know if it's going back to 150. You seem very confident that it's getting there. I don't know.
I think it goes to 150 by the end of the year. Especially
but at the end of the year, we're supposed to have a rally. We're supposed to have inflation with a two handle.
Hold on. If the Fed increases rates in September, people are not. This is such a big disconnect because Tesla vehicles are expensive. Okay, the average American cannot afford a Tesla. They just can't. You have student loan payments coming back.
Okay, I'll give you that if they raise rates. Well, let's say they don't raise rates. Let's say
even if they hold rates, they're not expected to cut rates until 2024. You have student loan payments coming back, and I would be willing to bet most people have not budgeted for them that have student debt.
What do you think the S&P is in December, the end of the year?
The S&P is different. I think the S&P goes up.
If the S&P is 4,800, you think Tesla's 150? Really? You really think?
does not need Tesla to go up.
Yeah, but in general, if the S&P goes to 4,800, Tesla's not going to be 150. That's not happening. I don't know what world you think that's happening. I don't know what math you're doing there. That's not fucking happening, bro. SoFi will be 15. Palantir will be 25 or 20. Tesla will be 250 at least. Like, it's going to be a green market. That's what I'm saying. All this analysis stuff, I feel like it doesn't matter because people are going to buy.
People in the chat are just completely brainwashed. I think it's pretty funny.
We'll see. Look, and you know, when I said it last time, it went to 100 and then went right back. And I said, it's going to go down. I won't be surprised if it goes right back up.
But why do you think it got bought up, Steve? People thought it's a generational company.
Because people think it's a great value because it's market psychology 101.
Look, I agree with you on the FSD stuff. The bull case on that is supposedly the reason it should be a $10 trillion company. And I would never fucking go in some self-driving car. I'm not fucking.
I got news for everybody. Tesla's not going to be a $10 trillion company unless they make more profit than Apple. There's zero reason for any company to have a larger valuation than Apple if they're not generating more than $100 billion of annual net income. Doesn't work. Doesn't fucking work. Microsoft generates like 74 billion of free cash flow. Apple generates like 104. Google generates in the.
But the way it does work is if FSD and robotaxis do explode, which I'm a little bit bearish on. But if that does happen, then.
But so you're telling me that if FSD comes in, let's just say Tesla's generating 30 billion of free cash flow, or 40 billion. You think it's a $10 trillion company when Microsoft, Google, and Apple are all generating more than 70 billion?
No, FSD would have to make them doing like 100 billion.
Numbers matter. Like numbers matter at some point.
No, I agree. I agree with you guys on the
speaking of
energy side as
numbers
well. I don't know.
matter, there is an opportunity in Pokemon cards.
Okay, that's the last thing we're doing. Pull up your fucking S&P 500 comparison. This is the last thing for the pod. I can't believe 250 people stayed for the Tesla. I thought everyone was going to leave. People stayed. So you guys can hate Matt and Steve for being bearish on Tesla, but if it goes below, then you should thank them because they were right. Farzad says next year FSD. Bro, Elon said 2014 FSD. Like that's I have no idea when that thing is coming. I don't think it's coming this year. And I don't think it's coming next year. I think the Cybertruck will be up this year, but
Okay,
FSD,
but even if it comes, we need you need regulation for it. Do you not
I don't know if you
laws
need
about
regulation.
using it?
Firstly,
Also the super chat. I gotta do the super
yeah,
chat.
gentlemen, super chat, and then second, did I compare the battery storage of Tesla to oil drilling at any point, or am I
No.
crazy?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Comment that
So
said
it goes
Well,
back to the people
No,
in the
you
chat
compared
being
it to
absolutely
how
insane.
much gigawatt next era.
Yo, Matt is coming for their necks, bro.
I don't, like these people. Like, get your head out of your ass and actually read a fucking book. Learn how to do some valuations. Okay. Like I try to be nice to some people sometimes and bring them along. But if you're gonna come for me, I'm coming for you. Read a fucking book.
Okay. Colin says, sorry, not ready for the pod yet, but when compliance and prep allows, we'll do it. Colin works at the investment bank. Highlighting David Sachs on All In episode 141. Enterprise sales are extremely hard in 2023. So 13% versus strong reacceleration coming. So Colin, this is actually a really good point. David Sachs did say this today on the pod. Enterprise sales are hard right now, not only because of interest rates, but because enterprises are a little bit scared to invest in new technology if they don't know what the value of it is going to be, especially if the cost of capital is high. So when that goes down, which is what we talked about for a good 20 minutes in the pod, when interest rates come down, enterprises will be more likely to spend, which means that reacceleration of growth will be able to happen. AIP should be mature by that point, by 2025. Yeah, that could be an incredible opportunity. And also when interest rates come down, people are going to buy a shit ton of Teslas and Tesla's going to go up. So
It may.
It may.
Look, if it does, I'm going to make money. I'm not going to complain.
But I think one thing, Colin, is the growth is going to have to be there, right? They can't have 13% growth in fucking... That was my point. It's like valuation is... valuation can be overvalued. I can buy an overvalued company, but there has to be some growth to justify. 13% does not justify $42 billion. And so that was my only point. All right, Steve, let's do the Pokemon thing. So this is Steve's new fetish that he's into. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm actually investing in this. Did you know Pokemon's the biggest media franchise of all time? Because I did not know that.
Sounds about right.
I didn't know it. Crazy.
Okay, very cool.
So I made a crazy spreadsheet that I'm not going to go through. Just know this is where I'm pulling all my numbers from. I actually did the due diligence and the market research. So there have been 3 sets that have finished from 2014 to 2023. We're on a new version that I did not put in. Every box from the past 3 series has gone up in value. Every box. It's crazy.
It's so crazy. Like, it's just, it makes me come.
So your gross profit per box. Now I am saying gross profit is if you sell privately. This is your net profit, where if you sell on eBay and you take a 13.5% seller fee and $9.99 shipping and handling on each box. So that when I ran these numbers on August 4th, so a week and a half ago, if you had invested in the S&P, total returns 203% when in reinvesting dividends, 182% not investing dividends.
Wait, how much is the return from the cards?
That's where we're getting. So if you had purchased one box at $105 a box, every box that came out from 2014 through January 2023, you would have spent $3,675 over a 9-year period. Those boxes today would be worth just under $18,000. Your gross profit would have been 386% on your money.
And why are they worth that much? Just because the market demand has given that a premium?
This is not some... Look, this is actually down quite a bit from the 2020, 2021.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, they're down. Like, all collectibles, sports cards, comic books saw a huge bump in 21. And these are actually low prices compared to then. And the power of this industry is crazy. Every single box since inception, which was 99 in the US, 96 in Japan, is up, minus the very current boxes, because the sweet spot is 4 to 7 years to at least double, if not 2 or 3x your money. So now just the XY series, which was 2014 to 2017, I believe. If you had bought one of each box, you would have spent $11.55. Boxes, a new set comes out every 3 to 4 months. You would have made 675% on your money compared to 203% on the S&P on a gross. Your net after fees on eBay and shipping and handling, 561%. These are real numbers. Sun and Moon series, which I believe was 2017 to 2020, same methodology. You would have spent $2,100 buying one of each box. Your gross profit, 265%, net profit, 216%. S&P return since 2017, 119%. Completely outpacing the market. Sword and Shield series, which was 2020 to January 2023. These boxes have not had that sweet spot to mature that the other ones had, that I said 4 to 7 years. But on a gross profit, you're beating the S&P, and on net profit, you're just under. I mean, there's a real market here, and I will tell you that it is huge.
And how do you know that market doesn't crash and the value just...
How do you know the stock market doesn't crash? You don't know. But what I will tell you is this is why I believe that this is really here to stay. I look at the collector cons, I look at Comic-Con, I look at the convention shows, and they're only getting bigger. Michael Rubin, do you know who he is?
Yep.
Okay.
Billionaire.
Michael Rubin is a beast. He owns Fanatics. He just bought Topps trading cards. His goal is to 10x the sports trading card hobby. He was at the National Card Convention. National Card Convention happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. 600,000 square feet in Chicago was the convention center over 5 days. First night, Wednesday, was for dealers only. His goal, he just hired a Fanatics events team, is to 10x the hobby, and he's going head-to-head with the National, and a rising tide is going to lift all ships. And Pokemon, Magic, these are all throughout these sports card shows, in addition to having their own. This market's only getting bigger, and my personal theory is traditional artwork is dying off. I don't think the younger generation cares about traditional artwork. I personally don't care about it. I have a autographed Mariano Rivera jersey, only thing hanging up in my office right there, with 12 personalized inscriptions on there. That is a 101. I'm not going to zoom in because I
That's
don't want
soccer?
copy me.
Mariano Rivera, soccer?
Don't even say that, dude. How dare you?
That's on Barcelona, right?
Yeah, okay.
Mariano, it sounds Spain.
Anyway, I think that I think sports cards, I think comic books, I think Pokemon and Magic cards, I think this is what the younger generation cares about. There's a reason Pokemon's the largest media franchise. The market is huge. You look at eBay, you look at the amount of auctions and everything, you look at the prices everything is going for. The amount of stuff that's moving is crazy. They're conversation pieces. And I think that this is what people are going to display. I mean, I got a bunch of sports cards. I got a lot of stuff in my safety deposit box.
But Steve, outside of the return you can get, do you just want alternative assets? Is that why you're interested in this? Or
yeah, I don't want to get too much into that, but let's just say that alternative assets.
You think the United States economy is going to go to shit? You think the dollar is going to get devalued
I
from
think
inflation?
I think there's other areas to make money, and for me, this is something that's interesting that I think is being overlooked. And I think there's real money to be made here.
Like some people invest in wine, some people invest in whiskey.
Dude, I was looking at buying a cask of whiskey the other day.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question. You were talking about this S&P 500 returns, and I think it's beating it by like 200%. Bitcoin's beating the S&P by like thousands of percents.
Yeah,
why aren't you investing in Bitcoin over... Like, Bitcoin's more reasonable than fucking Pokemon.
You had to bring that up, right?
I'm just curious. Like, why would you pick Pikachu and Ash Ketchum?
So I know
it sounds like Ketchum.
I know Amit
Ash
doesn't
not
like
mustard or something?
Bitcoin.
Because I fucked up.
How'd you fuck up?
Because in 2011, in 2012 when I was at corporate at Bed Bath and e-commerce division. Myself and one of the IT guys were talking about building a mining rig when Bitcoin was at $6. And then we were like, maybe we should just buy it instead. And that was when Mt. Gox got hacked and all this other stuff. And it was the Wild West. There was no Coinbase. There was none of that stuff. And it was ridiculously complex to buy it. And I got fed up and I just didn't do it. And I could have been fucking retired and fucking whatever.
But why? But if it's going to 100,000, why don't you just buy it now? That's way better than
Dude,
Pokemon.
Right now, I don't believe in the whole Bitcoin thing. I think there's way more utility in XRP. I could be 100% wrong, but I am in XRP. I've been in XRP since like 2017 or 2018.
Then congrats.
Bitcoin doesn't do anything special compared to what XRP does. XRP is all
but Bitcoin has the hype around it, bro. XRP doesn't have the hype.
Forget the hype. Look at utility. Look what Brad Garling.
None of this shit has utility, bro. All of them don't have utility. Like it's about hype.
Do your research on XRP.
I mean, I know it has some utility, but in terms of mainstream narrative for crypto
look
pumping
into what
the price,
Brad Garlinghouse has done with all the different financial institutions. There's real utility there.
Okay, how much is this worth, Steve?
I have no idea.
Why is that Charizard so thick? Oh, it's called Thick Charizard. I thought this was a legit card, bro. I was like, why is that ass so thick? And then I realized it says thick.
I thought you were making fun of Steve.
No, I swear to God, I thought this was a legit card. I swear on my life. I thought I wanted Steve's expert opinion. What is this?
Okay, that's funny. I will say that.
Yeah, you got me on this one, bro.
It's even better that you didn't even
a real
know.
card. And I was like, why is that ass so fat, bro? What the fuck?
No, but seriously, admit, you look at me. I buy sports cards because I really like the 96 through 2000 Yankees. I think kids and young adults are going to buy back their childhood when they get older. And I think the cards today, people are going to want to open up later on. I'm investing in sealed product and I'm planning on selling that down the road. And the numbers show that these go up in value over time. And it's been like this. And I didn't even put the earlier stuff from the early 2000s on here. Like every set, excluding this new era that just came out, has appreciated substantially. So I'm looking at it as I'm going to allocate a very little amount of money.
How much are you buying?
So the case that I showed on the last podcast, I don't feel like picking it up because it's heavy. I paid $630 for cash.
And you want that to be worth $3,000 in the next 5 years.
In it. Now I'm planning on buying 1 or 2 cases every set that comes out. I'm going to put in my storage unit. I'm going to hold them for 5-10 years. And then eventually I'll sell them or I'll trade them for the new series and keep rolling it. But it's just something on the side that has serious potential of making money. And if history repeats itself, you're going to get that outlier that's a 5-6x. And if I have 1 or 2 cases of each, I can sell one case. I can break the other case down, sell the individual boxes. If there's high pull rates on certain cards, I can crack them, try to get those cards, send them to PSA and grade them. There's all different things that can be done. But I like alternative assets, and I think that this is more interesting than gold and silver. I do have physical bullion, but I'm not bullish on physical bullion. I have it as a just in case. Look, if gold was going to do anything with its life, it would have done something already. The fact that gold isn't at 3,000 or 4,000, to me, it's not interesting because if there was ever a time, it should have been this freaking year.
Yeah. All right. This is good. We'll do a full pod one day just on Pokemon so we can really explain the thesis and go deeper into it. But you got people intrigued. You got people.
Dude, the numbers are real. Like the numbers are really real. There's a guy on YouTube, Nostalgianomics. I actually did a full podcast with him, 2.5 hours. Guy makes phenomenal investing content about Pokemon, super interesting. If you really want to learn more about it, I would watch his channel. Like, it's a ridiculous market, and there's a lot of money to be made, possibly.
Collectibles can definitely make you a lot of money, and it's like, especially like the used car market as well, not like specifically common day, everyday cars, but if you focus on like a Lamborghini Gallardo, like you might have,
80s Porsches, that type of shit.
yeah, like if you were able to pick one up in like the $80,000 to $85,000 range, I don't think you could pick up a Gallardo unless it's in shit condition below 100,000, and it's probably only going to increase from there. And same thing with like a 360 Modena, like those things, they hit a point where they reach their minimum value and then they start to increase in prices. Just like now, if you were to pick up a 50s Ford or 50s Chevy or something like that, you're probably paying in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. You weren't paying $40,000 to $50,000 back then, right? So it's just, the thing is like there's inflation aspect of things and stuff of the like. So some of that is just the ability to transfer an asset through time, and the inflation has kind of kept up with it. But also some of the rarity and the scarcity of these things play into effect as well, which is where the real money kind of comes in. And talking specifically about that, I mean, going back to the Bitcoin piece that kind of Amit talked about, that's kind of why Michael Saylor eventually landed on Bitcoin as his opportunity to like transfer his money through time, was because he didn't want to buy gold, because if you're trying to move hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold, it's however many pounds, it's going to take up so much. You can't buy real estate because then you owe the government taxes. So what's really the only thing that you could buy that is weightless, you can carry with you, nobody can really steal, unless they can figure out your passcodes and everything the like, and is digital, and it's Bitcoin, right? Or some sort of other cryptocurrency that's not a scam. So
yeah, and I don't think that Bitcoin's ever going to get dethroned. I think Bitcoin will always be the gold standard per se in crypto, but I do think, for me, after doing the research, XRP has the most utility.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument for Ethereum, because if you think smart contracts are going to take off, which is a great idea, by the way, it could possibly be. But I think those three are going to be the three that rule. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of potential upside next.
I think we should have a conversation, or I would love a conversation between whomever Amit invites about collectibles, because there's so many. Like you talked about whiskey, I do wine on the side.
Yeah,
it's a very small position, but yes. I have wine.
Yeah, same here. I mean, look, I buy certain whiskeys and bourbons that are single barrel and limited releases and that type of thing. And I've looked into certain platforms where you can buy barrels of Scotch whiskey and hold them for a certain amount of time. Like, there is a real market for that.
Are you guys done?
Amit, where are you taking your girlfriend for dinner?
Yeah, what?
It's fucking 1 a.m., bro.
Dude, you're
oh my god. I did a 2-hour market open stream today on top of SoFi and Palantir.
Oh, boo.
Are you taking her to Halal, guys? Like, where are you going?
I don't have a girlfriend, so.
Is that a lie? You said earlier you did, so I'm very confused.
Oh no, that was a joke. That was just
okay. I was gonna say, I was like, you're gonna let the game distract you. It's like, don't do it.
No. Oh, by the way, Russ released are you guys Russ fans? Any Russ fans in the chat? He released an album today. Album kind of sucked, but he has a song called Distracted on it. Such a good song, bro. I highly recommend Distracted. Right. It's a great song by Russ.
I don't know about Russ. What's his game?
He's a white rapper. He's top 5 for me in terms of my rotation, but
cool.
He's a good rapper. He talks about entrepreneurship, all that stuff. So.
Well, I have at least an 8-hour drive tomorrow, so maybe I'll hop it on and see what it's all about.
Okay. We got through Palantir stuff. We got through Tesla stuff. We got through Bitcoin stuff. We got through Pokemon stuff. 210 people somehow are still here listening to this. Which is good. Steve, that's props to you. You kept 200 fucking people here through all the.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is an untapped market.
You sound like fucking Jordan Belfort right now. This is an untapped opportunity for just 17 cents.
No.
I will make you $5 billion. Like that's
no. Look, I'm not saying go on eBay.
It was Steve's good looks that kept them here.
I am saying that the numbers show that sealed product appreciates over time, and I think that it's very early in the game, because I don't even know if I should say it or not, but I'll say it. The podcast that I did, let's just say somebody in wealth management messaged me on LinkedIn the very next day. And I've been talking to the person. Amit, I think I told you about this. I don't know if I did or not. I think I did.
You did.
But, I mean, think about that. I'm on a freaking Pokemon investing podcast at night during the week, and it was probably around this time, maybe a little earlier. And the very next day, somebody in wealth management from one of the big firms messages me on LinkedIn about it. Like, I am telling you that more people are starting to pay attention to this than you would think. And if you really start researching how big the collectible industry is, it kind of makes sense.
Okay. No, I mean, look, you have a good point. The numbers don't lie. It's a good return.
No, they're not my numbers. They're market numbers.
Steve's like Shakira. His hips don't lie.
That's true.
Or in this case, his lips. I don't know.
All right, that's it for us on Palantir /Pokemon /Bitcoin /Tesla Weekly. Thank you all for joining. This was awesome, super fun.
Amit, we're going to make a Pokemon weekly, and we're going to freaking get into that TCG market. You're going to see your views go crazy.
Do you think? Well, Pokemon YouTube is probably big. Yeah.
Think about how big Pokemon YouTube is, Amit.
I probably
show
not
off-
weekly, probably monthly. And then we
I'll
can-
show off my original 150 Pokemon cards.
Oh, you
That's all
have
I
them?
got.
Wait,
Yeah, I got them.
are you serious?
I don't have all 150, but I have them still.
You have the set from '99?
Yeah.
Matt, do you have it? Tell me you have an idea of what you could be sitting on.
He's
I mean,
sitting on
some
a
of
chair.
them were. Yeah, this chair is so uncomfortable. Sorry, I'm adjusting myself. People probably think I'm like letting them rip or something. No, this chair is just super uncomfortable. I like went on TCG and some of them are like $3-4. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money.
No, but like if you have certain cards from that '99 set, if they're first edition or if they're shadowless, I believe, and you get them graded, I mean, some of these are worth serious money.
Okay. Well, I don't have it in the lower right hand quarters where they say first edition, right? I don't think any of them are.
See,
first
Matt
edition.
knows.
Why don't we talk about the meaning of life now that we're just going to continue doing the pod? Like, what? Like, so
Meaning of
seriously, what
life
do you
is
think
for me
the
to make
meaning of
oil.
life? I think the meaning of life is Palantir. Is the ontology.
Yeah, I still can't believe you pulled up that Charizard.
Can I pull up the chart of Palantir's exponential growth and
yeah.
the meaning of life? Bro, Vitaly, he tweeted this big ass end phase thing today because he's on this thing where he's calling solar chargers to installers to prove to Chris that rates are not 10%, and he's like destined to prove him wrong that it's still 3 or 4%. I've never seen Vitaly type out this much shit on Twitter. He types out like 8,000 characters. And I just put one meme. I'm like, I'm not reading this shit. I was like, need more philosophy. You need more Alex Karp in here, not numbers, because I'm not fucking reading this shit. He's like so hung up that solar is a good deal right now. And I'm like, all right, maybe.
I'll have to send you all the photos of my 150 original cards. I don't think I have anything that's really worth that much.
Yeah, just email me some pictures and I'll let you know.
Okay. I'll put my feet in there too.
Bro. Well, okay. Interesting. Is that the meaning of life? Your feet? Is that what you're talking about? Yo, Steve, remember when we did that 4-hour podcast with Tevis?
I think it was like 3 hours.
It was pretty long, bro.
I'd do any amount of length with Tevis. He's a good guy.
Okay. So wait,
Man
okay.
crush.
Okay, so final way we'll end this is you both are coming to Vegas, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I
Matt's
would
there.
love to. I
Steve.
don't know if I can.
Matt, Vitaly, Carlos, Chris,
know.
Tanner, Tevis, me, you. That's 8 sausages.
What about
In
Kelly? I
one
thought
room.
Kelly said she was going.
Kelly too, but I'm talking about in terms of the guys. Like that's 8
Okay.
sausages, and
Listen, I would love
That's
to go.
pretty fun,
It is my
like-
busy season. I really don't know if I can. Like, it couldn't be in a worse month.
I don't know how to smoke cigars. So either you or Matt, someone's gotta.
Okay.
I have a big cigar obsession, so
Okay, so one
Do
of
you,
you.
Matt?
Those are cigars.
oh yes.
Yeah.
What kind we got? Just throw off some names. What kind we got in there?
Oh, dude, you're gonna love this.
Don't get my jug on hot.
Steve, you wearing shorts?
Oh, I thought that
you
was a
were your
wine fridge. Let's go.
Steve, I'm wearing shorts too. We're twinsies.
It's got boxes.
How much
Is
do
that a
these
Cohiba
cost,
box?
Steve? On average, how much do they cost?
Depends on what the box is. Oh, are those Behikes? What are they? Oh, Siglo 4s. That's a good one.
How much do they cost per cigar?
Don't ask questions.
Monte Cristo 2s or what?
Twos.
Yeah, I smoked one of those once. It was a good time. Where'd you buy them? England? Or did you
They're
buy them?
legit.
Okay, so you got to bring one to Vegas for me.
So the Siglo 4s, you could probably find them for 40, 50, maybe even more. And if it's a box of 25, then $1,000 bucks.
$40 for one cigar? That's a lot of money.
Those Padrones, what are they?
Wait, so do these kill your lungs or no? They're okay.
You don't inhale it most of the time. You
So
just
they
suck
have
it
no
in.
impact on your health at all.
I mean, you can get mouth cancer, and you can. Some of it does go into your lungs, but you're not inhaling it like you would a cigarette or pot or something.
So then, what's the point of smoking it?
You still ingest it. Oh, yeah,
Matt, these are phenomenal.
1875s.
The Connecticut, Nicaragua. But I
Wait,
got
they're from 1875, literally.
Yes,
No.
no, they're not. I'm just joking.
I was about to fucking say, bro, that should be worth more than Pokemon. Shit.
What is this?
this is one of the most underrated.
You got some really-
companies.
Oh, aging room. I haven't had one of those in years, but they're really good.
So underrated. These are amazing.
I don't understand some of them are like U365 and like the
Unbelievable.
822. But yeah, I'm curious. You can
When's the
educate me
last
on that.
one you smoked, Steve? When did you last smoke?
So I don't feel like lifting up the other humidor, but I have
blame
my
you.
ready to smoke humidor, my aging humidor.
You have a lot better of a collection than I do, that's for sure.
But you smoke every week? You do it every week or every day? Or what do you do?
I usually smoke one cigar a week, maybe one cigar every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Nothing crazy. I
When
enjoy
I
it.
when I'd go out more, I'd smoke 3 to 5 a weekend if I was going out twice a weekend. But I don't go out twice a weekend anymore. So most of the time, it's like once or twice every other week. So.
And I would say this: I've smoked a lot of different Cuban cigars. People can say whatever they want. I'm going to say on record that my favorite cigar is an Ashton Cabinet Reserve number 7.
Okay.
It is unbelievable. I am looking forward. I started buying cigars from Mike's Cigars online, and I am looking forward to November getting one of the Toro Fuente Perfection something. I gotta look, but it's they only make them at a certain time of the year. They're very hard to get, and I cannot wait. It's supposed to be amazing.
I want to have the best drink of my life with a cigar and bring in your
I mean,
26 that way.
Scotch and a cigar, or bourbon and a cigar.
What about a honey Jack Daniels? Is that good?
I mean, if you like that, sure.
That's the only shot I took in college that I really.
Wait a minute, isn't it your birthday today?
No, it's
Yes.
no. When I meant Friday, Matt, I meant on a Friday. So
Oh, got it.
I mean,
I got confused.
your family's liquor business, right?
Yeah, we know a lot. Well, not anymore, but my dad knows a lot about liquor.
If you can get a bottle of Weller or
Mm.
Blanton's,
Bland's is my favorite.
then I got a bottle of Blanton's next door.
You know, wait till you try it, Jesus.
Yeah, Blanton's is good stuff.
Yeah, Bland's is my favorite. I've never had Weller, to be honest. So I've only had Blanton's. So Bland's
Yeah,
is
they're
my
both
favorite.
from the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Yeah.
You guys never did that, right?
No,
No,
my brother died from it though. So there you go.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's.
Well, there you go. Sorry to ruin the fun.
That's like,
Wish I was lying, but yeah,
oh, shit, sorry to hear that.
that happens.
But
How old was he?
He was he 35 or 36?
Shit.
He was older.
It was
than
in 20. It was in 2020. Yeah, it was tough.
you. Wow. 2020.
Yeah.
Wow.
Matt, do you like whiskey or scotch?
I don't like blended scotches. I like single malt scotches. But I would say if I were to drink one or the other, it'd probably be a single malt scotch.
Do you like Oban?
I've had it once because my one director recommended it. I wasn't a fan. I've started to like more and more peaty stuff. So like Lagavulin, and Lafroig. And so I like Elay whiskeys a lot. Originally, I thought that they tasted like garbage, but I grew to like them. But I think Oban isn't that more of a Eli?
I'm not sure. I mean, I like Oban. I do like the Johnny Walker 18, and I think it's better than Blue. But I'm a big fan of Highland Park.
Okay, I think Highland Park is probably more of a Highland Scotch whiskey.
I've never had any of these brands, so in Vegas, I've got to be exposed to all of them. The most I've had is Mike's Hard Lemonade. So,
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really don't drink a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't suggest you start.
Yeah, I'm not going to, but for the one weekend, I'll drink a little bit.
One drink.
I mean, I drank a lot in college. Don't get me wrong. I got drunk like almost every night in college, but since college,
Jesus.
Yeah,
Out of control.
College was crazy. Yeah. All right. That's it. This was a great pod, gentlemen. This is one of those things we'll remember 10 years from now that we stayed up till 1 a.m. with 187 people talking about Bitcoin, cigars, Palantir, Tesla, and Pokemon.
Steve has way more knowledge than I do about cigars, by the way. So
he just knows about everything somehow. He's
a smart man. He's just a man's man.
I have a lot of useless knowledge in my head.
No, it's not useless, bro. It's like
and good looks.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I should probably press end broadcast now. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.
You're not going to make it to the 2-hour mark. What is wrong with you?
No, we're broad. We got.
No wonder why we're broke. All right.
Already
if you are here, follow us on X. Okay, everyone's in the description. Steve, Matt, and myself. If you're here, you got to join X. Follow us there.
Oh shit, Matt. Did you see that? No, seriously. Did you see the freaking energy transfer? Did you see the energy transfer is acquiring freaking what fucking company was it? God damn.
No.
Wait, ET's acquiring Phone Home?
AT&T?
Crestwood.
ET's acquiring AT&T?
They're buying Crestwood.
Oh, shit.
Crest, the toothpaste?
Crestwood.
Colgate?
I mean,
interesting. All equity.
So I have a theory that if the Magellan midstream acquisition, the 10K acquisition of Magellan falls through, that it's going to set ET up for possibly going after OK, only because it is a huge takeaway capacity from the Williston Basin, the Powder River Basin, and the Balkan Basin that ET does not have pipeline from. And they just bought connectors and a bit pretty interesting asset base in the Powder River Basin.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Powder River is a big deal. I don't think that people
Huge
recognize
deal.
how much oil is over there and how much we have yet to really tap.
I think people sleep on the Eagle Ford. Everybody's super focused on Permian. Eagle Ford is huge.
Well, I don't know why. I find it I'm trying to understand why a lot of people are selling out of the Eagle Ford. Doesn't make sense. But a lot of people sold out of the Permian in 2010 to 2014 timeframe. So it might be the same thing that ends up happening is after the Permian kind of gets fully developed, maybe people will start running back to the Eagle Ford. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I am a big fan of the energy infrastructure companies. Big fan.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get a mid on the energy infrastructure trend.
Mitt doesn't like dividends.
No, I love dividends. What are you talking about? I got into dividends because of fucking dividend streams, and that's
he's allergic to dividends.
No, I'm SLG, all that shit. I'm in that world, bro. I like income. It's cool.
Okay.
It's fun.
ET might be up your alley then. I don't know.
Dude, ET is a beast.
Yeah, I don't like alien pussy, and so that's
got 128,000 miles of pipeline.
Oh man, I worry about you, man. Yeah, I'll have to look at which of those is probably the best. It's been a while since I've looked at I used to own UDOC Midstream Partners when they were public. I helped take them public, and then
nice.
You took a company public?
Well, I provided a lot of the revenue streams and like the volumes and stuff. I wasn't like on the board or anything to take it public, right? So I shouldn't say I took it public, but I provided a lot of the information that revenue generation was kind of forecasted on to take it public. And then once it made enough or the tax regime was favorable enough, UDOC bought it back.
I have a question. So you know how people try to beef up their resumes, right? And really
Yeah.
show that their accomplishments and they've done a lot of things that are interesting.
They buy back shares.
Well, so let's say I'm talking to a girl, right?
Okay, we're talking real life. Okay.
And it's hidden, undercover. It's not public. And then one day on Instagram, I do a hard launch of the relationship, and I said, "Look, me and Becky are public."
Mm-hmm.
Do I get to put on my resume that I took something public?
Why are you talking in code?
Do I get to claim I like, you know how people take a Harvard Business School review and then on LinkedIn they'll like put Harvard in their fucking LinkedIn, and that's a way to say you took it public, right? Like,
I mean, I think you can say whatever the hell you want to.
Like, it was private and I made it public. And a company is the similar thing to a girl, right? Unpredictable, fucking crazy. It sometimes is going to bleed red.
I mean, it might
profit and losses, like a period. You know what I mean?
It might get your foot in the door, but then they might say, "Well, what company was it?" And then you're fucked. Unless you make something up on the spot and they can verify it.
Well, so I would name the company, right? So like for example, BP could sound like a girl's name, right? So I could say I took BP
like
public.
Becky something or other. Yeah.
Pastrana, right?
Yeah.
Sounds simple to me.
Yeah.
That's how you go public. Steve, I had to say that so we could get to 2 hours. I am the reason why we got to 2 hours. Okay, those last 50 seconds, I needed to come up with something.
If I didn't bring up the whole thing about Crestwood, we would not have made the 2 hour mark.
That's true. That's true. All right, so what are we going to talk about to make this 3 hours?
I mean, look, I'm ready to go. We can do a 420 podcast. We can do a 5 hour podcast.
Bro, I would be down to do this for 3 hours. I just need to go get a drink. Like, I need to get something to drink right now.
So go get a drink and I'll go take a piss and we'll reconvene.
So that means Matt's going to have to entertain them for
I don't know if I could do it. This chair is really riding out my ass. This is the worst uncomfortable chair of all time. And I've been streaming in it all
Matt's
week.
Getting fucked right now.
Yeah. There's actually like a never mind. This is a bad joke.
This is the After Hours pod, ladies and gentlemen. It's the After Hours pod.
But
You guys on After Hours.
After
105.5. This is the time where we talk about like deep shit. Like, because no one who's watching this after tomorrow is going to ever get to this point. Everyone's going to leave by like 30 minutes or something. So
you'd be surprised, but yeah, probably.
You think people will say, bro, I did a morning stream today for fucking for like 2 hours live. The last hour was just all like personal deep shit. I wonder how many of the 4,000 people that watched it after the market open actually got to that point. Because
your streams are getting 4,000.
No, it was 600 live viewers. Then we had 300 by the end stay till the final 2 hours, but they get like 4,000 after.
Well, I know that's what I mean. That's phenomenal, man. Congratulations, keep it up. That's great.
Yo, my sister is out somewhere right now. She just texted me, "Yo, I'll be home at like 2:30." She's definitely on a date, bro. She told my parents she was going out to like some friends. She's definitely on a fucking date. Like,
love. Do you have to court your sister's dates before she goes out, or what?
No, I mean she doesn't tell me about that.
You're not that super.
No, I don't.
Super strict.
No, I don't care, bro. She's don't want to be 30 years old. That's her life.
This is what we're talking about.
So, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna go get a drink while you're doing this.
So just to show you how crazy the sports card market is, I mean, I just typed in PSA 10 and ending soonest on eBay. I mean, these Otanis have a ton of bids with 2 minutes left on them. I mean, whoever put auctions to end right now is crazy. But, I mean, this is the Otani rookie cards. I mean, at one point, this came out of a regular pack that they got graded. I could go over the PSA stats on them. I mean, it's crazy.
So what if I have like a billion Weedles? What if I get like I have a billion Weedles, like the original Weedles?
What's that?
The original Pokemon Weedle?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know shit about Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know anything about the characters. I don't know anything about.
Good night, everyone. I'm just kidding. I thought you like knew you just buying it.
I don't know shit about Pokemon.
I was like excited. I was just like, oh shit, is he about to like drop some mad knowledge about me?
No,
Or
I
on
just
me?
started learning about Charizard and Pikachu, and that's about it.
Got it. All right. So what you're saying is they've all been kept in a book, right? It's not like they're just freely floating around. So I probably could get some of them graded.
I would very seriously send them the PSA and get them graded.
Hmm.
Very seriously.
I'll share the money partly with my mother because she bought them all for me.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. But like, I started looking at this and I'm like, this is freaking crazy. I mean, have you seen?
Like I forget. Let me see if I can have it like download the TCS. Excuse me.
I mean, that's from 2020. I mean, look at how ridiculous this is. I mean, just watching the videos from this stuff is freaking nuts.
Is it a TCS scanner? Is that what it is? TCS or TCG?
TCGplayer.com.
Let me see. See if it remembers all my.
And it's just wild. And it's becoming so freaking corporate now. Like it's really unbelievable.
The look of love is in. It's hard.
We should just leave so when Mick comes back, there's nobody.
Hold on, I'm curious now, and then I will leave. I scanned like all of them or majority of them in this TCG player, and they all basically said it was pretty much worthless. But I didn't have any ranking on them, so like I was just like, yeah, it's just a fucking.
Yeah, I think your best bet is to look at what you have, look at it on TCG Player, and then look at it on eBay in a graded condition, and go from there.
Oh, log in. Okay, I was like, why doesn't have it any of it?
But if you have any Charizards from back then, they could be worth serious money.
I don't think I do. I'm just gonna type forgot password because. I don't know. I don't think I have any first editions.
So I'm looking at the chat now. Baseball cards, somewhat. Disney, yeah, Laura Conistet seems to be pretty hot right now.
So hot right now.
So Disney's putting out a TCG game called Lorcana, and it just dropped last week, I think. And I think it's retailing for like 300 or something like that. And there seems to be a very good craze around it. And people are saying that you should buy it and just hold it because it's the first set that Disney put out, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting.
All right, what's the deep conversation we're having?
I'm just looking at the comments. There's a bunch of people commenting about sports cards and stuff.
Thoughts on Enphase and Airbnb?
Enphase over Airbnb.
I did a breakdown.
Berry punch. Drinking berry punch.
I did a breakdown on Enphase, and I was actually pleasantly surprised how cheap it was trading.
It's pretty cheap.
I was also surprised that the revenue flatlined.
Interest rates.
And so I was convinced that they would keep skyrocketing because that's what Vitalik said. But I can understand, like, I'm not putting that on Vitalik because that's not his fault. But I was just assuming that it was going to keep mooning and mooning and mooning in terms of revenue. And to see it flatline for 3 quarters in a row was kind of scary and worrisome.
I think it's difficult when you start getting into interest rates where they are. I think it's very difficult. Enphase seems like a great company, and I love the numbers and what they were looking like. But I mean, I need to take another look at them now. But look, interest rates are difficult, and the Fed needs to cut rates. You can't have mortgages over 7%. It's just crazy.
What if the Fed never cuts rates again?
I don't think it's likely. I mean, look, in the 80s, you had
What if we got to
mortgage
go Paul
rates-
Volcker to get rid of inflation?
Yeah, look, in the 80s, you had mortgage rates at 16 or 18%. The difference is you had money markets at 18%, and it canceled each other out. You don't have that right now. And the other problem is you have a lot of people that are tied to 3% mortgages. Nobody is selling a starter home or a regular home with a 3% mortgage to get into a 7% mortgage unless they're moving for work and they absolutely have to. I mean, it's just the numbers don't make sense.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, I think we end the pod. We got to go to sleep.
Yeah, I was gonna do the.
By the way, is that a cat
TCG.
behind you, Matt?
It's a bear, actually. You said cat the other night, and I laughed.
So you're
That's
the
a
reason
bear.
we're red. It's because
Sure.
bear.
Yeah.
I have a bear too. He's a teddy bear though. His name is Scruffy. We got him in kindergarten. I had him ever since.
Could be our teddy bear. But no, I was hoping to log into my TCG whatever account, but it looks like I just scanned all of them, but I never saved them to an account or anything like that. Which
In a
is
minute.
shame.
Don't forget, you're going into an election year.
Yeah. Now Biden's not letting this fucking economy crash.
I don't care who the president is. I don't care what your politics are. No sitting president wants a bad stock market or a bad economy or energy.
That's my
prices
point.
high
Biden's not letting the economy
going
crash.
into re-election.
Yeah.
They're going to figure it out. Rates are going to start getting cut as soon as it starts heating up. Like it's all sequenced. It's
So
not a
2024 is going to be a huge year, is what you're saying.
It's gonna be huge. Huge.
I don't think we see a recession.
I think we get a soft landing. I think we figured it out. We
I
did
thought-
have a recession, by the way. We had
Let's-
negative GDP growth for 2 quarters.
Yeah,
we had
we
the
did.
fucking
Yeah,
recession.
a year ago. I
Yeah.
don't think that we see a recession. Every time we've had a recession over the past 25 years, unemployment's been over 5%.
Yep.
Unemployment is under 4%.
Labor
If you
strong.
don't have unemployment and you don't have people defaulting on loans and credit cards, it's going to be very hard to have a recession.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's hyped up on the inverted yield curve, but there's other things to really take into consideration in addition to the inverted yield curve.
Yeah.
By the way, when the yield curve inverted, we had a recession. We had the 2 quarters of it. Like it happened, even if
Like,
it wasn't,
maybe that was the recession.
maybe.
And the stock market usually bottoms before recession happens. I mean, we're also
The
expecting
counter argument is when the Fed cuts rates, we get a recession, right? So it's like,
but why? You're going to see when the Fed cuts rates, you're going to see increased activity in the housing market.
But generally,
I think-
the Fed has to cut rates because of a recession.
Yeah, they do that to stimulate the economy.
Exactly.
Like you're going to see this trickle out to so many different areas when you have. Why are you laughing?
because of this comment. It's just a funny comment. That's all.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about politics.
We know you're a Trumper, Steve.
I never said that.
I'm just fucking with you. Yo, this boy Vivek, this boy's making some noise.
Dude,
Vivek Ramaswamy's making some fucking noise.
he makes a
bro.
lot of sense on a lot of things.
He's an entrepreneur too. He's worth like almost $500 million. He's making some fucking noise.
How about this? I want to see somebody new in office. I would like to see somebody new. But that's all I'm going to say.
Admit 2036.
Bro, I would never run for president.
We need
'Cause
10
I have
years,
too many
right?
side hoes. I can't have the Monica
Yeah.
Lewinsky's inside that. Like I need them on the side. I don't need them in the fucking. You know what I mean?
2036.
All right, we got to end the pod here. Thank you everybody for joining.
We
This
got
is
You want, to
awesome.
you want to talk about the tax code a minute? We could talk about the tax code and what I would change if you want. I'll blow your mind.
Oh, man. You guys rock.
You guys are awesome. Thank you everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Later.
Bye.
So we need to do a